is up, everyone, and welcome to this episode of Midnight Ranting. Should the death penalty be abolished? Where we are having... Dun dun dun. We are having a UDC-inspired after party on the topic, should the death penalty be abolished? Our own James W. and Mark Reid having been in the ring, so won't you join James W. and myself, Amy Newman, for a good time worth dying for? What is up, everyone? And again, welcome to this nice Midnight Ranting, our UDC-inspired after party on should the death penalty be abolished. We do have one of the interlocutors here with us, James W. We're going to have Mark Reid on a little bit, and we did have James W. instead. But Satan instead decided to recruit him for a moment or two, possibly Satin, which is 50% softer than Satan. But we are sending you love out there. Like, hello, Regos. I'll be starting out over here until one of the Twitch streams I'm watching ends. Completely understand. We are growing on the Twitchosphere, so it's kind of exciting. We're almost on 100. Welcome back, James. I hope Gilbert's doing good.
Hopefully.
And welcome. We are talking, should the death penalty be abolished? And we're about to bring on people, but I want to have you on because you have just done a debate on UDC with Mark Reid and yourself. And what are your thoughts?
Well, I just, want to thank Mark especially for being gracious enough and being kind in the debate. It was a fun debate. He's a very good debater, so I'm not surprised with the outcome. But it still is a lot of fun.
He's a master debater?
Oh, definitely. But I also want to thank Oz and Jenna for being such gracious hosts and for doing a great thing that they're doing for the community, for the YouTube debate community, to give a platform for people to go and have fun, have debate, be able to talk about different issues. And we might not agree, but hey, like, we could still not hate each other, and we're all good people, and we just have differences of opinion. But yeah, it was a lot of fun. And yeah, thanks everybody.
So I also want to post it in the chatosphere. So
UDC-10. Subscribe to that channel. Yeah, it's a new channel, but get that to a 1,000 subscribers so they can monetize that one.
Well, speaking of 1,000 subscribers, you've actually triggered a word tonight, because we have very specifically been trying to get Bree to her 1,000 subscribers.
She needs to be at 1,000.
Tangang got her a whole bunch of subs today. There's like so many Dami jokes in my head. I'm trying to resist. We're just gonna link her channel instead.
Also, Mark Reid, he's growing, but he needs to be at 1,000 too.
Exactly. We get Mark Reid.
He's a good debater, but he puts out lots of good content on his channel. I go there usually a couple different times a week to see the different things he's putting out. He puts out a lot of his reading the room, just a lot of good insights he has.
He's been doing those Reddit reviews where it's kind of like he takes a situation, and I think it's, are they the asshole or am I the asshole kind of thing. They're fun though.
Great guy, great channel.
That's right. Should have been at 1K.
Yeah, definitely.
Also said Dig Love, I blame the Amy Newman kind. I blame myself too during the debate. I'm not sure what for, but I would blame myself twice for it actually. And sending love, Pat. I saw also sending love to your email. We're about to have Pat
All that
having so much more fun on here.
From the girl deck.
From the girl deck. That is right. Sending love to everyone. In fact, before we go into the open mic, and we are about to, I just want to send love out there into the inner sphere. We are a skeptic channel, including the two schmucks that you see before you. Yeah. However, we do give everyone their own opening and closing statement. Atheist or theist, liberal or conservative, come as you are, just not on my sheets. Plenty of other real estate otherwise. And yeah, we're going to get you up here.
Target
this housekeeping. Yes. Sponsored Mark of the Beast. Sponsored by very specifically Muhammad, probably. I assume. But also all of our super chatters out there, all of the people sending and joining in on our membership with our evolving badge system that kind of triggers the young earth creationists, because time apparently is what we worship. And of course, our Patreon, sending so much love to all of our Patreon, the best way to help us because it gets it right directly. Our Soros paychecks. Sometimes good, but then they have to be translated from blah, 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 blah. And so Patreon is also the second best. And so at patreon.com/AB Newman, including amazing, awesome supporters. And I'm just going to send love in random of James Wolfe. We saw him out there.
Wolfe. Thanks, James.
Sending so much love. We How at the Moon, sending so much love to Rachel Holland, the amazing
Rachel. Thank you so much, Rachel.
Beautiful, reminding us that the biblical slavery is kind of immoral and still is. Senator Cato reminding us the separation.
Thank you, Cato.
Really kind of important. Theocracy can go shove itself. It's so funny. Theocracy and autocracy, they always think of themselves as the strong men, but then when you have like actual just a little bit of democracy, just push it. Anyway, Dale Pastel sending so much love as we just look for a little bit of empirical evidence for kind of like any of these supernatural, paranormal.
Thanks, Dale.
They all got a shtick.
Don't get any.
Don't have evidence. Yes. Sending love to Chris Disciple, because the entire skeptic and ranting community.
Thanks, Chris.
Christians, theists, as long as you're skeptical towards your belief systems, you are part. And then the three, last but not least, we are sending love to Ian Davenport.
Thanks, Ian.
Reminding us that watchmaker arguments are stupid.
They suck.
Yes.
Yeah. That one.
They spend literally thousands of years coming up with this stuff. And then they're like, it's a watch on top of an even bigger watch.
Field of watches.
Exactly. In a field of watches, and it's being watched. Very watchable. Sending love to Ian Davenport. Thank you so very much, Ian. Sending so much love. I'm going to cough and protect yourself.
We don't want to catch the gay.
Oh, I know. Yeah. It's what happens when you don't get your cootie shot. It just spreads, spreads, and spreads. Early prevention, folks.
Amy gives those shots, by the way.
I do.
Like the doctor. The doctor says lower your pants, and Dr. Newman.
Indeed. If you're above 18, consenting, and highly attractive, we can make this work. You know what? If you have a good personality, if you're kind of funny, are you into movies and games and a little bit of fat? Anyway, we're talking sending love to Matt Deeg, reminding us
Matt.
that flat earthers, young earthers, whatever they're kind of trying to sell themselves, the anti-science community, whatever they got going on for them, they don't have theories. The other word that kind of triggers them, a framework of fact. It's just a theory. No, it's just a hypothesis. That's what you have. We have theories because we actually have frameworks of facts. Lots of facts. Feels good. Thank you so very much, Matt Deeg. I mean, the difference between 6 and 10,000 and 4.5 billion is 99% wrong. Like, they act like it's...
That's pretty wrong.
Here,
I mean...
But over here. 6-0... Oh, no. Well, so I'll give the nice version. 10,000,000 versus 4.500000000. Oh wow, great. No, that's just basically the same thing. Basically. Anyway, sending love to Matt Deeg, sending love to Regos, our final.
Thanks so much,
We
Regos.
have a Skeptic Bible study. Thank you so very much, Regos, for, well, getting us knee-deep into Joshua, which is a sentence I like to say as often as possible. We killed Moses somehow, and so now we're on to the next prophet. It's not even like multiple prophets later. Moses was in all of this time.
Next one.
And he wasn't like... we have like the whole in the basket story and, you know, the killing of the firstborn sons. Who doesn't love a fan favorite? And then, you know, Pharaoh drowns. And then like chapters and chapters and chapters and chapters and chapters go on that no one really cares about because it doesn't make an entertaining movie.
Mostly they don't.
Yes. But that's okay. We got Joshua and I hear he lifts. Thank you so much, Regos. Thank you to all of our supporters, all of our super chatters, all of everyone. Yeah, I think we are about to get, and we got a lot. Oh my lordy. We got Beamsy, and we got Daddy Oz. Oh my. We got Jenna. We got Stephanie. We got a social justice topic.
A rogue, if you could say.
And I'm going to get it wrong. I always get... it's Matasaro. I say Matasaro, but then I get corrected. Right? It's not that. Every time I say that. I'm so sorry, Matt. I'm sending love to you. But howdy. Science is cringe. That is an interesting statement. I'm sending love to you, Lucy. Welcome on board. I'd say science is based. I was looking up that word.
Is it now?
Yeah, by Little P, because he's trying to say, even though it got taken over by apparently conservatives, he was trying to say that it was trying to put out the fact that I even have the Wikipedia page on it. He says base means being yourself, not being scared of what people think about you, not being afraid of what you want to do, being positive. When I was younger, base was a negative term that meant dope head or base head. People used to make fun of me. They were like, you're base. They'd use it as a negative. And what I did was turn that negative into a positive. I started embracing it. Like, yeah, I'm based. I made it mine. I embedded it in my head. Based is positive. Though it got turned into, you know, whatever means. But I just like reclaiming words in general if they're being used. Because I don't like when people are mean.
Some words.
Yes. Well, some words. Well, it depends. It depends on also the person, because generally specific, the person reclaiming it should be the person that is a victim of whatever the word is. Not saying that person is a victim, but victim of that word. Just randomly, I've been thinking of base and all this other stuff because I don't normally think about politics. I go back and forth because when they asked Charlie Day, you know, what's his opinion on politics, he would always go, politics. I say no. But then I get other views that are like, when you don't care about politics, politics cares about you. So I feel like I have to debate myself whether I want to get into politics. With that, we're going to go into the open mic. Sending so much love. Beavesy, you are up first with Daddy Oz and Jenna, Queen producer Jenna, on deck, and we are going into the open mic.
Hey, Davion.
What is up? We're Midnight Ranting on Should the Death Penalty Be Abolished? Welcome to the show. And what are your thoughts about the debate or the topic itself?
I don't think the debate was very well because I don't think James agrees with a lot of things he was saying. I think, if I'm correct, James, you think that the death penalty should be abolished? James?
And I would say that James is, at least from the debate, he is pro the death penalty in some cases.
It wasn't a debate where I just go up with the debate just to debate. No. I really... Yeah.
It was coming across that you didn't fully agree with what you were saying. That's just the way it came across. But I don't think the death penalty should be abolished, but for different reasons and for different justifications than what was put forth. And more importantly, you're putting the emphasis wrong for Daddy Oz. It's more like that rather than Daddy.
Oh my.
Yeah.
Well, I think I'm going to concede that point. And well, without anything else, we're going to break them on.
Sounds good.
Daddy
Thank
Oz.
you so very much, BMZ. We also welcome your religion, of course, as always. And with that, we're going down the line.
Dada.
Oh my, though that's coming up. I still want to say, I will find it. I want to just point this out. And if he ever says this, Ultimated paid us $40 to do a debate that we were going to do for free. And so I just want to say thank you, Ultimated. I hope that you got that.
Thank you, Dada.
No, I want to support all sugar dadas. And so we just want to say, again, thank you. Peebo and Ultimated will be debating biblical presuppositional apologetics in a day or so. So look forward to that. Yeah. And with that, let's bring on the man with the plan. He helped us have this debate topic. He got the UDC channel up with the premiere flagship episode. I am so excited tonight. Daddy Oz. I still don't feel like I put the right emphasis on BMZ. Oz, what is up? We have been Midnight Ranting. In fact, should the death penalty be abolished? I want to thank you for having that debate. I want to thank you for being on. But what are your thoughts about the debate or the topic itself?
Finally, Daddy Oz has come back. Amy Newman's channel. If you can smell what Daddy Oz is cooking. All the Daddy Oz talking, and I said, Jenna, I have to go with the Vince McMahon. I just got to play to this. I got to play Vince McMahon. But anyway, great debate, and it was awesome. It was awesome to be able to host the debate, and Jenna did the hard work. Let's not fool ourselves. She did the hard work and made the whole presentation of UDC in that format look way better than it's ever looked. And thank you to James. Thank you to Mark. Thank you to Nick for being there. But I think the presentation, the visuals, and what we're bringing to the table, I think we're going to change the game and bring a little more spice to the debate game. Let's say that.
Hells yeah. Spice. Thank you so very much, Oz. It is great to have you on the panel. It was great to watch the debate. And yeah, I think with that is the word of the night is transition, I think. Jenna, welcome. We are Midnight Ranting on Should the Death Penalty Be Abolished. Lovely to have you here. And what are your thoughts about the debate or the topic itself?
First and foremost, I know this is my first time being on your channel, Amy. I'm surprised at myself that it's taken this long. So lovely to be here. First time.
Have you on here?
Yeah, and I cannot follow Daddy Oz after that. I just can't keep. Don't you start. Anyways, no, I like I said at the top of the show with the debate earlier, like me being a viewer when Tang was tart, and I was fascinated how different it was, amongst other debate channels, and it, with the openings being a lot shorter and the dialogue being a more concise, and actively having a good moderator / referee knowing what the fuck to do. That's just amazing. But overall, I was excited to work on it. I think Mark and James both were incredible. And I say that more than the fact that they're friends, but the fact that I know they are at the very least veteran debaters, so they, and
Master debater.
the
You see what it
understanding,
says.
like for me, even it surprised me how, well on James's part, he, I'm, like I said, I'm not a debater. I don't know the right terminology, but how you, not, I guess overall, just very convincing. And that's, I guess the overall point of most debates anyway. You necessarily have to be convincing to draw in your viewers, your audience. I mean, the viewers in the chat were all over the place, scrambled. And even for myself, it was just enjoyable to be a part of, enjoyable to work on. I always say, all the music that you heard throughout the whole show, Oz produces all the sound. I just make shit pretty. That's what I do. That's what I love, and I can't wait for us to have more coming up in the future.
Everybody
So
should check out us on Spotify. Some
James,
great music.
great, awesome job, Mark. Congratulations. We'll definitely have more. And as far as my opinion on abolishing the death penalty, I'm about, I guess you could say 75%, 25%, 75 leaning more towards it being abolished. But I think when it comes to like personal situations, it can be situational when it's subjective. But there you go. Great job. I had fun.
Thanks, Jenna.
Woohoo! Thank you so very much, Jenna. Lovely having you on, and I thought your transitions were lovely.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I hope you heard that, Nick.
It looked really pretty. Yeah.
Thank you.
Prettier, I must say, even than a $400 suit. Take that, Nick. Oh, I'm
It's
just kidding. I'm
Amy.
sending you love,
600,
Nick, too.
Yeah. Come on.
Better.
600, that's true. I don't want to sell him short or straw
Don't
man.
cheapen his suit.
And all right, we're going right down the list. Welcome on board, Jenna and Stephanie.
Welcome aboard, Stephanie.
We are Midnight Ranting on should the death penalty be abolished. What are your thoughts about the debate or the topic itself? Oh,
I can't hear you. You're muted?
it's okay. I do that once a podcast, if not twice.
At least.
Exactly.
We still can't hear her.
Nope.
Still can't hear you, Stephanie.
Come on, girl.
Ooh, what's up, Beck? Beck was
Hey,
on
Uncle
the
Beck.
amazing, awesome stream that we were having, both on Tangang and Skeptic Haven. Sending love to also our brother, student Dr. Ben. There were so many amazing people on that stream.
So many. Still nothing, Stephanie. Maybe try reconnecting.
Refresh.
Yeah, refresh it.
In fact, what we're going to do, I'm going to we're going to get Amaretto on here. And I think Alenzo, someone else was backstage.
Mark popped
and I
back
know
for a
Mark
second.
was actually popped back. Mark will probably be our headliner for this. If
We'll
he
get
gets
him on as
just
soon as
from,
he comes on, yeah.
Oh, you want to get her? Well, I see
If
my
he
thing
comes
would
on.
actually, I think he'd have the most to say about it. I think you and him have the most to say.
Maybe.
But
you want to save us for last? Yeah, maybe.
But let's get a Amaretto on
Social justice top.
a social justice topic. What is up? Welcome to our Midnight Ranting on should the death penalty be abolished, and what are your thoughts about the
Wonder how
debate
she
and the
feels
topic
about
itself?
Oh. Is this a problem with us, Amy?
I was about to say that, but I'm still betting. Oh no, I don't know. We'll find out.
Can the chat hear her? Or is it just us?
It was me.
Oh, it was you.
Streamlabs for whatever reason likes to think I have a mic plugged into my headphones and I don't. So I have to manually adjust it. Yeah, but
right.
I'm sure y'all could can probably guess where I stand on this issue. I didn't catch the debate. I've been dealing with some stuff and I haven't been feeling well, so
Sorry to
I
hear
only-
that.
Better?
yeah, I'm hanging in there. It's adulting is not great.
It sucks
but-
sometimes.
It very much does. But yeah, so this is actually something, it's funny because I'm pretty passionate about it because mind you, I'm looking at it from a primarily American perspective. But long story short, as far as like why I am for abolishing the death penalty in the United States, there has been proven that there are systemic issues with people of color and Black people being sentenced to harsher penalties for various crimes compared to white people, including the death penalty. In fact, in Baltimore, there was just a man who was, I don't believe he was on death row, but he was exonerated based on DNA evidence. And he had been in prison, if I remember correctly, for almost half his life, at least, if I'm remembering correctly. I'm still waking up.
If it's the one I think you're talking about, he was in prison for 40 years. He's in his 60s now.
Yeah. So
For what charge?
Murder. They accused him of murdering his girlfriend, and the girlfriend's family is now trying to fight against him basically being released.
He has not been released?
He has been released, but they're trying to basically say, hey, this was like, they're trying to say we were never informed of this hearing and blah, blah, blah.
Has he been going for a retrial or?
Well, as far as I know, I don't believe the state of Maryland is going to be retrying him.
Okay.
But there's actually a lovely website. So a little bit of prior information, ladies and gentlemen. When you're looking for a good source, you're going to typically want to stay from anything that says .com at the end. You're going to want a .org or .edu. So there's actually this really lovely organization called the Death Penalty Information Center, which is deathpenaltyinfo.org. And they have a lot of information up. Death penalties being botched, like executions being botched. There's actually drug companies are refusing to sell the drugs to states now because they're botching executions. There's also a lot of issues with, again, people being sentenced to death when it's coming out years later because of DNA evidence and whatnot that, hey, they didn't do it. You're putting, like, there is too much of a chance that we are killing the wrong person. And also, I really love how a lot of these conservative fucking Christians want to say God is love and everything else and preach forgiveness and everything. But then when it comes to certain things like murder, they want to be like, yep, kill them. It costs taxpayers in the United States so much money because of the process of appeals and everything else to put somebody to death. It's stupid. And if you actually look like how criminal justice is in the United States compared to other countries in the world, it's more reformative. And actually, I have a classmate who I'm pretty sure is doing investigating Ireland versus the United States, because our class this semester is all about Ireland. I'm going away in less than a month. Get heck out of the States for a little bit.
Sounds fun.
And I was going to say, so I have amnesty.org says that most known executions as of 2020 took place in China, Iran, Egypt, Iraq, and Saudi Arabia. China is the world's leading executioner. But, you know, America is also, there's also other sources that say America is not far behind or is up there as well.
We're pretty
it's
far
ridiculous.
behind.
Well, it's ridiculous. You know, until you find better ways to prosecute people, until you can get racial bias out of our criminal justice system, which unfortunately, like, racial bias is kind of systemically baked into our criminal justice system at this point in time. As we're kind of seeing, there was actually a man who was just shot in LA, I believe. He had no legs, and the cops said they couldn't disarm him, and they just killed him. It's ridiculous. Until we have better trained police, better trained criminal justice, we get a lot of the corruption. Well, I mean, listen, you know, I'm just saying that there's so many problems that as a, you know, if you know, I know a lot of people here are not theists, but a lot of people here do describe themselves as humanist in some way, shape, and form. How is it humanist to say, yeah, we're just going to kill this person because we think they did this. What happens if we kill them and then it comes out, oh, they didn't do the crime at all? That doesn't make us any better than a lot of these conservative Christian assholes who want us to be in a Christian fascist nation. It makes us no better. We should be better. Doesn't matter what religion you prescribe to. If you care about people, this is an issue that you should be caring about, because this can happen to anybody. And, regardless of race, because that's just one factor of it all. If you're lower income, you're also more likely to kind of be railroaded into things like this as well. So
Thank
that's
you, Amaretto.
Yep.
Thank you so very much, Amaretto. Welcome to the panel.
Well, great to hear from you.
And so I'm trying to figure out.
I'm back. Can you hear me?
Yes,
we hear you this time.
Cool.
I'm trying to figure out. I think I'm still going to make maybe Mark the headliner. Okay. Before we go into the open conversation, because I know he'll stick around. So I'm going to utilize his niceness and empathy. Stephanie, we are Midnight Ranting on should the death penalty be abolished. We are talking the debate, the topic, or anything we've been talking about.
Well, first of all, I hope Daddy's still here, because I have a little ditty.
Daddy's here.
Is Daddy here?
While
tearing off a game of golf, I might make a play for the caddy, but when I do, I don't follow through, 'cause my heart belongs to Daddy.
Oh my.
So I just thought I'd lead off with that, and also fuck the death penalty. The only reason I can see, the only potential reason I can see for a death penalty is like if somebody's definitely guilty, deserves to die. Well, that's an issue too, but is because it saves money. It costs less to have someone dead than have someone alive and feeding them and clothing them and housing them for however many years. But it just doesn't make any sense from the standpoint of punishment. I mean, it's regardless of the whole maintaining that it's a country club existence. I don't know if you've ever visited a prison. It's not a country club existence, especially if you're kind of that guy. It's not it's not the greatest thing in the world. And the other thing is, you can sit there and contemplate what you did. I don't know as death is death is a release, really. I'm not sure that but what's sitting and thinking about the harm you did for many, many years isn't worse than not having to contemplate that at all. And then I say that from an atheist perspective, wherein there is no ultimate justice beyond this life. So what's the worst punishment? You get away with, okay, I did this, I'm dying now. I mean, that's like suicide by cop almost. And I don't see that I don't see that there's any justice there, really. I don't. And the other thing that is really problematic is if you are in fact innocent, you just don't have a choice. I mean, there have been case after case after case about of people that it's not a fluke that you wind up dead on account of something you didn't do. I mean, maybe it's not. And maybe you can rely on the criminal justice system to make those decisions, but the criminal justice system, I think some of us would agree, anyway, is incredibly flawed. Just to say the least, it's incredibly flawed. It's incredibly biased. It's loaded. So I just can't, I can't see. That said, both Mark and James did a wonderful job, and the Tang Gang did a great job presenting the debate, and I was very appreciative of having the opportunity to watch it. So thank you.
Thank you, Stephanie.
Thank you so very much, Stephanie. Lovely to have you on with us. And all right, Matt, we are Midnight Ranting on should the death penalty be abolished. What are your thoughts about the debate, the topic, or anything we've been talking about tonight?
Hey, thanks for having me on. And you had it right. It's Matasaro or Matisaro.
Yes,
The only one that
Matasaro.
bothers me is when someone goes Matasario. Like, there's a whole extra set of letters there that are not in the name.
See, just because you said that, I'm now probably going to get it wrong, but I'm going to keep on trying. But yes, we are Midnight Ranting on should the death penalty be abolished. And what are your thoughts?
So, morally, so on a fundamental, just mental thought level, I don't have a problem with the death penalty for cases where someone is guilty of murder. So if you can prove absolutely that they were guilty, they killed someone, and only murder, I believe that the death penalty is appropriate. Having said that, I don't think humanity will ever be at a point where we could be comfortable enough being able to determine guilt. And so I'm against the death penalty for in practical use. I think that I don't think that the death penalty is an effective deterrent. I don't think that the death penalty is an effective punishment either, because as an atheist, I just think that ends your existence. The reason morally it would be acceptable in the case of murder is because I think a fair punishment for taking someone else's life is to lose yours. And what sits in my craw morally, again, is someone who might, be in prison enjoying themselves, remembering murdering 30 people. I can't guarantee that time in prison is going to be punitive or punishment based. Some people really enjoy being in prison. Some people enjoy being crazy, and those people might continue to hurt others. But having said that, and going back to the practical, I do not think that with the bias in our justice system, with the flaws in our criminal methodology and our police, with the just lack of information we have and so many opportunities for the system to fail and make mistakes, that the death penalty, we are nowhere near as a society ready to be able to use that tool. And I'm not married to it either. So in a society without the death penalty, I think that's fine. I don't necessarily think that that you're losing anything by giving that up. And I think you gain a ton, especially in humanity. I think it's a sign of an enlightened culture to avoid the death penalty, but also at the same time, I understand that there is some comfort to the families of the victims, especially in really heinous situations, that knowing that that person can't possibly ever escape, can't possibly ever harm anyone else, that's some comfort to the survivors that has value. I just don't think we're anywhere near a position in the society to guarantee that we're using that tool appropriately, especially in America. If you ranked the countries I don't trust to use the death penalty in order, America would be way up there. Our racially biased justice system is abhorrent, and by design in many cases. And so basically, ideally in a perfect world, a spherical cow situation, there are some cases where it can be morally justified, but in practice, I don't think at all ever. At least not for the next foreseeable future.
Woo-hoo. Thank you so very much, Matasaro.
Thank you, Matasaro.
Are happy to have you on the panel with us. And I think instead of just moving people around, I'm just going to go in order that they came. And first of all, Kinky. Second of all, that means Mark. And then I thought I knew who the person was, but just to make sure, we're going to keep on just going down. So a different person after Mark. We are going to get Mark Reid.
Hey, Mark.
We are Midnight Ranting on should the death penalty be abolished. It is lovely to have you on after you and James W. just came from the UDC debate where you were debating the topic of should the death penalty be abolished. What are your thoughts about the debate and, of course, the topic itself?
Yeah, I'm really staunchly against the death penalty. I think I outlined a really good case why. I had these 4 main points, but I love that Amaretto brought up something else as well as the racial component. I kind of steered away from that just because you could apply that to normal punishments as well. So I felt it didn't give my my arguments any more weight. But yes, you are correct. There's actually more white people on death row at the moment than black people. However, white people generally get exonerated more, right? So it is a racial issue in that sense. It's also an economic issue. The people who have access to the better lawyers and etc. tend to get off death row more than people that don't, unfortunately. And that's again sort of what Matt brought up, that it's a fundamentally flawed system. It's sort of, if you've got the money to fight it, you probably will win. Whereas if you're relying on public defenders, you probably will lose. And I really want to show James some of these examples that I do have of people that there is no foreseeable way they should be under penalty of death, and they've been executed. They're now dead. So I'm really staunchly against it. I think one of the most interesting things James asked me, though, is there any conceivable way that you'd be against the death penalty even if these things weren't a factor? And that's not entirely true. It doesn't come just down to a moral issue. There is definitely that component, and the biggest moral issue is the act of killing. You would be morally you'd be outsourcing that onto somebody else. To somebody has to kill that person. And James admitted he didn't want to do it, and I can't say I blame him. It's a horrible job. I don't think it's moral to get somebody else to do that. However, the military does exist. All these things exist, granted. But even if that was the case, I would have to be presented that the death penalty does have some really good benefits for society in order to outweigh the harm that it is doing. And there isn't really that benefit. We can talk about how people feel about it, how families feel. The problem there is that families have often said, no, we don't want the death penalty, and the judge has implemented it anyway. So listening to the families isn't something that the current process is really involved in doing, or else they wouldn't be giving the death penalty out to the families that say, hey, we don't think he should. And the whole idea is that it's not about what they've done. It's about what we do, who we are as a society, what we value as a society. And I think that with the people that are innocent that do get killed, and it does happen, with the putting the onus of killing these people onto somebody that did nothing wrong and is just working for a living and sort of getting money for that. I think some serious questions have to be asked, like, who are we as a society? Do we want a society that is implementing things for a just and fair and equitable society? Or do we want a society that wreaks punishment and vengeance upon people for no other purpose than to sate our own bloodlust or our own injured feelings? And I realize that sort of James said, not everything can be clinical, and some things have to be emotional. But I think when implementing policy for countries and policy for our justice system and policy for our legal system, we can't just rely on emotions. The emotions shouldn't enter into it. That is why the picture of the woman with the scales is blind, because she is supposed to not see the difference between anybody, not take emotion into account, and just weigh facts. And the fact is, there is no good reason for the death penalty, only an emotional reason. And that, quite frankly, it's just not good enough. Thank you.
Thank you, Mark. Great to have you on, man. And great debate.
Yeah, it was a great debate. Look, James was fantastic. Like, I really liked
I want to congratulate you for your victory. It was earned, and you did a great job. And
well, I also wanted to talk to you. Is there anyone after me? I mean, I can leave this to the
well, I'm going to give it back to you, Mark, in a second. Just hold on for 1 second. I just want to do
Leo.
Okay, Leo. That is him?
Leo!
Yeah, it's Leo.
Okay, I always get just worried with name changes and things like that.
If you go to the 3 dots and you click on it, then you can see their YouTube account. Just FYI.
Okay, well then with that, we have an assured that it is a skeptic, hopefully. Not troll, I guess it is an actual Leophilius himself. With that, Mark Reid, if you would like to say anything else.
No, that's all. I just really want to thank James for doing that debate. I really enjoyed it, and I really appreciate the back and forth. I get very passionate about it because these moral things I always get passionate about, and I just use empathy.
Emotion
If
is
that
real.
was
It's real.
well, yeah, but that doesn't mean we should really base things on emotion.
Still real.
Yeah, but I mean,
You
emotion
have
can
passion,
lead us
and that's
sure,
real.
but I'm not basing my arguments on how I feel about it. I'm basing them on arguments that are based in rationality and logic and things like that. I wouldn't say, hey, this makes me mad, that's a good reason to stop. That's not what I'm doing. Really, it's just I kind of empathize and use my empathy that if somebody was convicted and executed and or even put into prison for the poor guy of 30 years, I would say, hey, that's horrible. That is still horrible. But if they're executed, there's no reason to do that, to risk that for my family. So I wouldn't want to risk it for others. And that's sort of how I look at it.
Thanks again, Mark.
Thanks.
And okay, with that, thank you so very much, Mark. We are going to definitely play Mrs. Doubtfire. Let's do this. My body is ready. Mrs. McGillicuddy, welcome to our Midnight Ranting stream on Should the Death Penalty Be Abolished. I hope you are having a fantastic night. And what are your thoughts about the debate or the topic itself?
The mask falls.
Oh, hello there, dearies.
Nice to see you, Grandma.
Before I say anything, I just want to let everybody know that down at Mrs. McGillicuddy's Country Corner store, our chocolate salty balls will be $1.50 off through Friday.
What is happening?
Okay, but on a serious note,
I'm 12 years old, and what is this?
okay, you people need to watch more TV. Like, I haven't watched TV in over a year, and I still like get this better than you. Anyway,
definitely.
Should the death penalty be abolished? Yes. But I'm going to present for a reason that I don't think anybody's touched on. Well, maybe tangentially, but I don't think directly, at least not yet, that I think is important to the discussion. And that's that I don't think that the centralized state should have the authority to make decisions about who lives and who dies. So, as I think both Mark and Amaretto have already touched on, primarily because what ends up happening is the interests of those who have control over the state end up, filtering through our justice systems. And these kinds of policies are enacted in ways that largely benefit the interests of those people, in which instance we usually see them being used in ways that target particular demographics over others to maintain, power and control over society. I think that there's a variety of external reasons why not only should the death penalty be abolished, but many current aspects of our legal systems and how they're operated should be abolished, because I think that it is plainly obvious that it isn't done for the sake of meaningfully serving the needs of humans broadly, but done to maintain systems of organization that which have afforded disproportionate amounts of power, privilege, and control to a disproportionately small class of individuals. And I don't think that such systems or forms of social organization are meaningful or conducive to the continued sustainable progress of human society. And I think that the death penalty is a part of that.
Thank you so very much, Leo, and welcome to the panel. With
You're
that,
looking really good, Leo.
We are going to head
insightful
to the girl deck. And we have already a question from Pat towards Amaretto, but then afterwards I'll naturally hand it over to the whole panel for the topic. I do have a question, but I don't want to derail the conversation, but I did have a question for Amaretto. How much does she know about the officer involved shooting in Huntington Park?
Well, I know that the guy actually had stabbed somebody. Like, part of the issue was, he stabbed a man. I think it was like a 12-inch knife. Got in his wheelchair and rolled off. My big thing is, they shot him. How many times does this? I'm looking at NBCLosAngeles.com right now.
Wasn't it something ridiculous, like 60 times or something like that?
Not like that
ridiculous.
crazy. 10 times throughout the upper body, according to police. They're claiming that they tried to use stun guns on him, but the video doesn't clearly show that they have. This is my thing. I feel, especially like when you're talking LA, like they have a really, not to say that they're the only place by any means that has a really bad history of police killing black men or
Oz has
black people. But no, I mean, I know a little bit about it. My big thing is, it's like, if they should be able to, you should be able to subdue a man with no lower legs. Like, I feel like we need to better train our police in the U.S. to not have to resort to lethal force. But yeah, sorry.
There is something we really need to do here. We need.
I'm gonna dip. I have one question. You said lower legs. Is there such a thing as upper legs?
You can't leave quite yet, though, because you are a part of what we need to do. So what we need is for Amaretto to turn her camera off, Amy to turn her camera off, and everyone else to turn their camera on.
Why?
I can't fathom what.
Hey, it's a pattern.
No, it's not correct yet.
Oh, it's not.
Yeah, you don't have to show yourself, but your camera just has to be on. I'm just waiting for Oz.
Oh, I mean, I show my camera all the time.
All right, there we go. We now have a diagonalized matrix. That's all I wanted.
Oh, so you're basically playing.
Oh, see, I was liking the nice little X that we had going on there.
Yeah. Mark got. He's like, okay, you motherfucker. I see your jokes.
But Oz, I just want to ask:
Thanks
is
so
there
much,
anything? I think we broke Oz. Is there anything that you would like to add? We are here inspired by you and Jenna because the UDC debate was fantastic between James W., Mark Reid on should the death penalty be abolished. Lovely to have the whole thing up and running. And what are your final thoughts on the topic?
Both the debaters suck. They're terrible.
Yeah. Fuck them.
Don't know why.
Don't kill your own channel before it starts.
I was about ready to cut his heel promo right now, y'all.
So no, it was for the first one. It was amazing. Again,
First one in a long time.
Yeah, in a long time. Everything turned out awesome. And the first time you do something, there's always going to be wrinkles you got to iron out and tech issues, but that's to be expected, right? It's all good. But at the end of the day, it ended up awesome. So again, thank you to James and to Mark and to Nick Suter.
Nick was such a mensch.
Yeah, thanks,
Let's
Nick.
face
He's
it,
a great
coming
guy,
in
Nick.
last minute. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Well,
I think we owe a big thanks, if I could speak fucking correctly, for once in my life, to Oz and Jennifer for putting this on and bringing UDC back. You guys should get me on with somebody to debate Marxism.
Let's just
The only request I would ask is I am definitely going to need more than 5 minutes because there's absolutely no way can lay out any sort of meaningful case for Marxism in 5 minutes.
I stuck to 5 minutes.
Yeah, but
Wait. You should be able to hold on. You should be able to do a brief summary and you lay your case out in the debate. That's how you do it.
That's true. What? That's the whole
Wait,
point.
what?
Why would you want
the issue is that Mark,
Leo, you don't want to come in the first 5 minutes. You want to keep us baited for more.
the issue is that Leo can't talk about ice cream in under 5 minutes.
Oh yeah, I could.
There's a problem there.
Vanilla bean is the best flavor, and if you disagree, you're just objectively wrong, and the universe hates you. There, that's under 5 minutes. But no, I don't think
Peanut
debate
butter
just you
swirls,
make your case during the
Chocolate
debate. You
peanut
make
butter.
your case in the opening speech, and then you defend it during the debate. That's the way I look at a
I'll make your
debate.
case in 5 minutes.
Hey, Leo. So,
I think-
so what you're
I
saying is
think
to
there's
talk
no-
about communism, you need more than everyone else.
I mean, we're gonna need more than
It's
5
exactly
minutes.
what I need.
Wow.
Oh,
Everyone's just getting warmed up after.
I can only
There's
do
no
it if you
reason-
give me more than everyone else first, though.
Then don't
That's
do
why
it.
communism
There's
failed.
no reason to change your format. If that's the format you're doing, that's the format you're
That-
doing.
Oh, that way it's fair to
well,
everybody.
I was just going to say that there is.
It's a challenge to work around.
Leo
that is
needs
the
to learn
format, and
foreplay.
it's meant to be a challenge. It's not meant to be convenient. It's not meant to serve one person or the other. Give them an upper hand. It's
Plus-
meant to be a challenge.
For a
But wait,
common
Leo.
self that doesn't
What's up?
participate in debates, doesn't really want to follow them all that much. If you gotta take more than 5 minutes to tell me about shit, you lost me.
Some people drown. Yeah, they
Okay,
drown
that's
out. They
fair.
don't have the.
Yeah.
They can't listen.
Exactly.
Yeah,
What
yeah.
if you
I
could just
like the
speed
format.
run
I
the
like the
Communist
format.
Manifesto? Just
Oh,
really
I see.
quickly.
I think
Oh,
about
yeah,
it.
yeah.
But I should clarify. My comment was made with a little bit of facetiousness. I understand that the whole
I-
5 minutes is a part of the channel.
I
you
was
know, it's
perfectly
to
serious.
present that challenge, that road, not really a roadblock, but that challenge of can you take an idea and present it to people palatably in 5 minutes?
Very good.
I couldn't do that with Marxism broadly, but with like, I guess, like the labor theory of value, that's usually the area that's where the disagreement falls. Funnily enough, most people don't want to disagree with historical materialism. I wonder why. Probably because it's largely correct, but that's a different discussion.
Well, and before I dip, I usually get it on the opening. Why is it 5 minutes, or even the closing? They're like, "Oh, I need more than 5 minutes to give my closing." Shut the shit down, right? And I'm like, if you need more than 5 minutes for either, you already lost me. And that is why that's presents part of the
It's a challenge.
challenge.
Supposed to be.
The difference within UDC and the others that do this. But again, I'm grateful for those that were involved, everybody that
Oh, yeah.
watched and participated in the side chat. Again, thank you. If you weren't there, please go and subscribe, because it's only going to get better. It's only going to get more spicy, and there's going to be I know this isn't the right word. I'm being a smartass when I say this. A plethora. There's going to be a plethora of topics that
Smorgasbord.
I'm gonna go smoke a pipe now. Thank you.
Myriad.
Absolute multitude.
that we bring to the
Pinkies
table. But Amy, thanks for Amy James, thanks for hoping.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
Oz.
Thanks for hosting the after party, and I love y'all, and I'm out, man. I love
I'm
you.
gonna
Enjoy
do
your concert.
Beautiful man.
Have a
Take
great tour, Oz. Have a great
Thank
tour.
you.
yes.
Make it
Wanna
happen.
go touch that
Sending
back,
that
Jenna?
love
But I
right
have work
back.
in the morning, and it's been too exciting for me, and I'm like, I need to go to bed and wake up in like a few hours, so I gotta go.
But I am sending love to the queen of production, Jenna, and Daddy Oz. There we go. I think I did it right.
Daddy.
My heart.
Daddy.
My heart belongs to
Daddy
Daddy.
Oz.
Daddy.
Daddy Oz is out.
Put him to bed, Jenna.
Oh my. Well, that got as spicy as I hoped it would. And I'm just gonna fan
Right.
myself. And we're
Actually,
gonna
I
keep
loved your
walking forward.
picture, Leo. Do you know in England they have a competition for like making stupid faces? It's called gurning.
Really?
That
Yeah,
is a
joking.
silly competition.
Yeah, I have heard of that.
What you're talking about.
Fucking
Yeah.
pommy bastards, always making up stupid words.
And you know, they're weird. Too much inbreeding, I think. Anyway, the
Well, that's
debate.
conservatives in the southern United States.
Well, I-
They're definitely not communist. I can assure you that much.
I will say.
I said
we have
pommy
only-
bastards, not
Oh.
commie
Pommy,
bastards.
pommy.
It's
Pommy
complete.
means prisoner of.
I wear my commie
Yeah.
pinko fag badge with pride.
And I thought you were just talking about people who like pomegranate, those pomegranate-liking bastards.
I got
Which
you
I
special
like.
biology.
I'm trying for full fellowship with my Australian friend over to
Yep.
my left over
I'm
here.
He's
just-
not
Understood.
Australian. He works for
Hey,
NASA. He's
hold on.
fine.
If you want fellowship, just start saying the C word. Apparently, because apparently that's a big thing from learning.
No.
Yeah, well, that's the
Good night, Lucy. I will
night,
say,
Lucy.
if you or anyone out there would like to join the panel, we're only about halfway through our open mic. The fun has just begun. And so please, come one, come all. I think, maybe, who knows? We're at hour 1, so if a creationist comes on, we'll only go for another hour or 27. And so please...
Well, I want to know something from James. I've got a question for James about the debate, which I wish what I wanted to ask was, well, actually, I wanted to accuse you. I j'accuse.
Oh my.
The argument that you had, that was like it was intelligentsia and the university. You realize Kent Hovind makes that same argument, right?
Oh yeah. Don't think that didn't cross my mind, but
you didn't feel dirty. You didn't feel dirty at that moment.
Yeah.
Well,
let me come on to say this, but in terms of like creation evolution, that's a lot more objective. That is, you can physically objectively say the world is not 6,000 years old. That's a little different than a question of morality, of what is the appropriate response to somebody who murders an entire family of people.
Is it at all germane? Is it at all germane to the argument that a set of people who have studied the issues, this is a terrific trope that gets thrown at all of these arguments. It's like,
it wasn't morality.
Yeah,
it wasn't morality.
Yeah.
Because what the question is the death penalty effective in reducing homicide and murder rates?
Right.
That isn't about morality. That's the effectiveness of a policy. There's nothing moral about that question.
But hold on. Why ought we act on the data that you're providing?
Well, that's one thing.
That's not the argument. The argument that he was making.
The argument I've made
providing
was
the data aren't reliable, and I don't know why.
Well, why do you care? Why do you care about the data?
Statistics are malleable.
Why do you care about the data on this?
Me?
Yeah.
Because the data informs public policy. Like if.
Well, why do you care? Why do you care that public policy is informed by data?
Like, is it
because
is that
when
is
it's
that your moral
informed by
guideline?
other stuff, it's very bad.
I'm just getting at the idea that morality is a part of this. Like the whole aspect of broad social organization and legislation is like morality. Like morality is a fundamental aspect of broad human interaction.
You can't say a study on the question of whether the death penalty is in fact effective on crime. You can't say that's a study on morality. I mean,
I think the point. No, I don't think that's what Leo is trying to say. I think it's the fact that it's your own personal morality that makes you take that information seriously and use it as
not personal morality, just the morality underlies the whole thing.
My issue.
I know, but you could make that argument for literally anything,
Yeah, that's kind of
and it is made for literally everything, Mark. That's my issue. That's my issue with it's a mirror image of an appeal to authority, right? It's a mirror image. Well, we all know that facts have a liberal bias. I mean, I'm sorry, but we all know that academia has a liberal bias, and therefore we can't trust any study that comes out of academia. These are the arguments that are getting made against trans people
anti-intellectualism.
Constantly.
Well, yeah,
constantly,
and that's
just constantly. Yeah. It's like and we come back. People on my side of the equation come back and say, well, the AMA, the American Psychiatric Association, the WPATH, the World Health Organization, all of the experts affirm the notion that these are accepted standards of care, and it doesn't matter.
They
cry liberal bias, and this is the problem I have with making that argument, because when you're faced with study after study after study that is reliant on actual data gathered over time, peer reviewed, and well documented, it's a hand wave, and that's the thing that disturbs me. It's the both sidesing of any argument, and it's easily done, and it's constantly done. It's constantly done in the media, no matter what the issue. If it's
Well, you
at
know why,
all,
right?
if it's at all controversial, that's the argument you're going to see, and you're going to see it on the front, above the fold on the New York Times.
Well,
You
that's
know
more
why, right?
profit driven. If you
Why?
come out and say one side is right, you turn off the whole other side. If you play the game like it's a football game,
You have the
then you
debate.
get both readers. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so any kind of profit news media is always going to do that bullshit, which is part of why America's in the crapper right now.
I have to be honest. I don't think that's true. I think most people on either side, quote unquote, either side, tend to either some group of media sources or another. I think the reason that things are both sidesed is because like let's just be honest here. One side of the political aisle is just the good side, and one side is the bad side, and it's the conservatives that are the bad side. So they have to act like that there's something wrong with like the extremists on the left who just want people to have good wages and healthcare, so that they can get away from the fact that they, despite not necessarily being extremists or even bad people themselves, at the end of the day will side with them politically 8 days out of the week and twice on Sunday. And so they recognize that subconsciously. And so they have to attack the other side for being equally extremist and having equally bad people on their side, so they can just say, well, sure, but you do it too, even though we don't.
Yeah, and you're actually
Well, I don't
absolutely
like
right.
It's
the
just that they're a
identity
bad
politics
side. They
thing.
recognize that they're bad, and they have to project it onto the other side.
But
And that's what it
remember-
is. It's a projection. The both sidesing is a projection, largely by the right.
It's
I
also
don't like it.
controlling.
my
as well.
I think that
my
generally
objection.
Universities are moderate. I think that generally universities are moderate, and the right see the universities as left because they're left of them. Just because they're left of them doesn't mean they're far left. It just means they're moderate. So.
Well, and it elides the plain fact that that we're talking about, that what we're talking about is data and statistics and studies that are undertaken in a scientific way. And as I think you said in the debate, granted, it's we're talking about social science here, and so there's nuance involved, and a lot of people but even when it comes down to scientific stuff, that's the appeal. The appeal is, well, we're the so-called scientists, that's just a theory. We get the same goddamn thing when we're talking about evolution, for fuck's sake.
Well, I think James should be able to respond because we've sort of been chewing out.
I'm sorry. This is
no, that's okay. No, I
horse.
get you. Yeah, but I think James probably should get a chance to.
And I want to respond after too, because there's a couple of things.
No, sorry.
No, it's okay. You're good.
I'm sorry. Absolutely not.
I'm sorry. Absolutely.
No. So my argument was that these good, well-meaning people, they're beginning with their position that the death penalty is immoral, and trying to find a framework trying to find a framework that supports that. And so that was my contention. It's not that necessarily that it's a moral question. It's just that their morality informs, how they do their work. And I mean, politics, it does affect science. Like when was the last time that science came out with a major scientific study that flew in the face of what was political orthodox? It just doesn't happen.
Galileo.
Yeah, but it's
right. But he
was
was condemned in his time. But he
and
was
also by the church.
Studies originally flew in the face of all understanding.
But in the modern era,
yeah,
in the modern era, that's why they say what. I'm sorry. What?
Like I feel the less.
Like the studies on the impact of trans affirmative surgery kind of thing. It did at the time. That's the thing. It takes a while for these things to become accepted, but it did when they first started coming out. They were very contentious. These things don't just come out and instantly they're accepted by everybody. They start out contentious and then go from there. But what I'm pointing out, James, argument that you are using is essentially their worldview, well-meaning people in the scientific fields that you're talking about, and social sciences are sciences. Their worldview, unfortunately, makes them come up with the wrong conclusion. It is exactly the same as the creationist argument. There is no difference here.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
it's all
I
just
just
an
wanna-
evil liberal conspiracy to cover up the truth because you hate God or you're an evil Satanist or it's some Marxist conspiracy or something like that.
It's a different
Well,
sort
no,
of.
but it's the same argument.
Yeah.
It's a different sort of presupposition. You presuppose that the people undertaking these studies have a goal in mind. And
Like they want a
that's
specific
your view, that they have this goal in mind, and so they rig the data to achieve the goal. I mean, you said it yourself just minutes ago, and I don't think that's the case.
Well, statistics are malleable. Anybody who studies statistics knows that there's interpretation and there's malleability. I'm sorry?
A lot of it depends on how you set up and do your study as well, and like the mindset you come in. Like, yeah, statistics, like, they can be manipulated and everything else, but a lot of the times you're also admitting like other points of data from the same research study to make your case. I think it's a little bit more complex than.
So I want to have James be able to say like one last thing, and then we're gonna get Pat in.
No, that's okay. We can go and get Pat in. Yeah, I mean,
I
could see it. It sounds like the same argument that creationists make, but I think that when you're talking about morality versus something that's more objective, that is, we can objectively say the world is not 6,000 years old. You could show that through numerous scientific means that nobody's worldview has anything to do with. I think that's a little bit different from a social science. But
I run into this.
I don't think it is.
Hold on.
I know
everybody disagrees.
The fact
Yeah,
that
you all
all
disagree.
of you want to reply means it would be a while until we got to Pat, which means Pat Lowinger, welcome. We
Hey,
are
Pat, good to
Midnight
see you.
Ranting on Should the Death Penalty Be Abolished? Lovely to have you on. What are your thoughts about the debate or the topic itself?
Well, it was a good debate, lively. I came in with my own opinion, and I thought it through a bunch, so I don't think there was any way James was going to sway me. I'm
valiant effort.
Right, so I'm definitely, due to Stephanie said it very well, the numerous flaws in our law enforcement and judicial system make a ultimate penalty such as the death penalty untenable, in my opinion, both just from a humanitarian and humanist perspective for that reason. But valiant effort. So we just go on, So I'm just here because
I just wanted to point out that the idea that the social sciences can't even be as hard as some areas of physics is completely false.
That's hot.
That's
well,
a
and
bold
Neil's
statement. What you're saying, that social sciences can be as hard as physics? Is that what you're saying? Some areas.
There are areas that I think are easily as mathematically quantifiable as areas of physics. Yes.
Yeah.
Can I ask?
Oh.
Are you make those soft sciences hard by rubbing them?
No.
And I'm done.
You have to
continue
massage.
forward.
You have to massage the data, is what you've got to do. James, I've put I've put the link to the main paper I was drawing upon. It's actually fascinating. It does a number of metrics over a number of different comparisons. None of this, this is a 30-odd page document that goes in depth into the patterns since, and more importantly, the patterns that we see since the Gregg decision and the Furman decision, that abolition period that the US had for a brief, I think it was about 6 years or 5 years or something. Yeah, something like that. So it goes in depth into monitoring those, as well as doing correlations between death states, non-death states, between Canada, US, number of different factors tied in. This isn't just, sort of, hey, we've got a few statistics, we're just going to, massage them into thingo. So it's a very, very large study. And this isn't the only one. There's tons of them. So I get what you're saying. It just breaks my heart for you to sort of say, hey, these studies can't be relied upon. We should consider the.
I'm not
people.
saying I'm
Like,
not going to
people-
consider them. I'll read it
Well-
and take it into consider. I have to look at the methodology and maybe I'll agree with it. Maybe I'll see that they were totally not biased and that the data makes perfect sense. I don't know. I'd have to read it first.
Okay, well, I mean, it's there for you. You know, if
I
you
would
want
just
to-
point out that so when you're looking at like the question is our current form of the death penalty effective? That's one question versus could there be a way of doing the death penalty that would be effective at deterring crime? And I'll agree that the way our current system is run in the United States is probably not, because the way it takes like 20 to 30 years to end up executing
How would
somebody.
you
And
do that, James? Are we talking a Judge Dredd situation here, where you just shoot the
Give
person?
me my
What are we
dystopian
talking
future.
about? Right, right.
Amaretto's
So,
dystopian. Well, no, but I think in a lot of these cases where there is guilt is absolutely not a question that we should speed up these appeal processes. This should not go through so many different layers. And like these last minute appeals, most of them are frivolous. They're done just for the purpose of prolonging it. Everybody knows it. The attorneys get paid to do it. They make these challenges that they know are not going to go through, but they make the challenge. The court has to review it. It takes up time. We could cut a lot of that out, and a lot of that would cut down on the cost of these appeals that are done just to prolong it, just to delay the inevitable.
Then you're looking at the amount of innocent people being executed going up, because the whole idea of this process is called super due diligence. That's actually what they call it. It basically has to be due diligence of a much higher order because you're executing people. The problem comes that if you do away with that due diligence, then you're looking at more innocent people executed. And we know from exonerations that this due diligence process has found innocent people and exonerated them, just not all of them. That's
So are we
another
making claims
contention.
of innocence, or are we just filing frivolous claims?
How do you tell the difference?
Yeah, that's the thing.
Well,
You have to have somebody
You
look
read
at
through
the
the
evidence
claims. A
first.
lot of them are not even claims of innocence. They're,
But then it's
But-
a person making an extrajudicial designation over which claims are good and which claims are bad.
Yeah, we do it all the
Who
time
is
in the
doing that?
But I can probably guarantee you that at some point in the
Court
process for
officials,
some of these
judges.
exonerated prisoners, that there were probably people who thought the same thing. These claims aren't real, but you have to be able to look at the whole evidence. And we also, I guess for me, what about if the innocent people that we could kill? How do we look at their families in the face? And there's a lot of factors. Yeah, like what do you do? Oops.
So
Like,
Yeah, and
Give them
that's
a posthumous pardon.
It's just us
Yeah.
being that
There you
silly
go.
old liberal
Well-
government, I guess.
So
Well,
there you
one,
go.
You
One
want
thing
to
that-
talk
well-
about clogging up the criminal justice system? You're gonna clog up like the civil and other
You can't sue.
federal
You can't
levels
sue the
with-
government.
there's
the risk.
So
The risk of
You
killing
can,
an
well, I
innocent
mean, you
person.
can.
The risk of killing an innocent person alone is justification to kill the death penalty right now. No pun intended. And
and I do want to. There's
You
been
know,
there-
even with the worst of the worst, I
wanna
hate to
hear
quote.
from
I
Pat.
hate to quote from the good book of J.R.R. Tolkien, but when someone says they deserve death, and good old Gandalf, I dare say, and some that die deserve life. Can you give it to them? Don't be so eager to deal out death in judgment.
And I think-
It seems to me
Wisdom
that
of
as I
Gandalf,
said when I first got on here, that's even if there's the possibility that somebody in the chat was mentioning Rudolf Hess, and it's like, well, blah blah blah, and Rudolf Hess killed himself in prison because he couldn't live with
Adolf
what he
Eichmann.
did. Well, Eichmann was put to death.
He was.
That's yeah.
No candlelight
yes.
vigils for him. Nobody feels bad for him.
But I would feel better if he was put in prison and took his life, like Hess did.
Well,
It's like give him the time to reflect. And
Well,
I honestly think
Goering
that
killed himself to avoid being hanged.
if a person is
He cheated
capable,
justice.
If a,
Hermann Goering, he cheated
that's
justice.
is it justice to is it
Well,
is
he apparently thought it was. He was doing something that he wanted to do, right?
So I think
it's the easy way out, James. That's my it's the easy
Goering
way
took
out.
the easy way out. Yeah, he killed himself. Yeah.
And
Well, there's-
so whoever
Eichmann
has the
didn't. He
next
was
point-
put
wanted
to death.
say something. I could
I said
tell
Goering,
Pat wanted to
but
say
Pat,
something.
let's get Pat in here.
We'll
Go ahead,
get Pat, and then
No,
Mark,
Pat's already in
and
here.
then
He's just being quiet. That's all. Speak up, Pat.
And then after that, we're gonna get Cerberus Hex in, and
Oh,
so
boy.
Pat, Mark,
So
Cerberus.
just one thing. Seems to be I may have a little experience in this area. Not every state. Understand, most capital crime punishments are issued by states. Okay, so the issue with this, they review everything, is a fallacy. Every state has its own process of judicial review. This typically ends at the state Supreme Court unless there is a federal issue revolving a execution. Some states don't have what is called a full in-camera review. Some states have limitation on exculpatory evidence that can be offered. Some states do not consider new evidence in appeals. So just saying that they do some states do. I can tell you California's process is much more robust than a state like Texas.
Oh, wow.
Texas doesn't even consider mental deficiency as a defense towards execution. And they've been known to, on numerous occasions, execute people that were clinically proven by, again, competent medical staff to be, and this was the term they used at the time, mentally retarded.
They convicted
Right.
a man for burning his family alive using science that was debunked a decade before.
Correct.
And didn't overturn it.
And so these are the kind of things that need to be considered, that not every state's approaching the death penalty the same way either. Some states have extremely high standards when you talk about the expense to the public, and some states have what I call, basically Walmart drive-through justice to get to the death penalty.
But they also get
the
the federal habeas relief in the federal court. You can raise claims of innocence in federal court. You can make your claims.
Courts don't ever overlook those or rule against them purposefully.
But you
because
understand
the person doing it though.
They do. Habeas petitions get granted relief.
Yeah, no. I didn't say that it wasn't done. I said that it's never been the case, or I didn't say that it's not like that they never do it. I'm saying that there's totally not cases where they don't. That's never been the case.
Well, James,
I
let me
wanna
tell you,
talk.
James, I've got something for you.
About...
No one's mentioned this yet. Sorry. I've been waiting because this is good for James. Go ahead. Throw him a bone. First of all, I'm going to preface this by saying I don't think humanity will ever get to a point where the death penalty is a safe tool. I don't think we'll ever get to the point where we can prove someone's guilt beyond a reasonable doubt. There's always the risk of killing innocent people, and that alone is all you need to say the death penalty is stupid, James. But there is one defense or one upside that I'd like to offer you to take and run with, hopefully. There is one situation in which the death penalty can actually be justified, in my opinion, which is preventative. If you have a prisoner for a crime who is murderous, insane, who is going to kill other prisoners, and they are getting incarcerated for their crimes, there's no way to isolate them from other people without committing a human crime of isolation, because that's a crime against humanity as well. And so the risk to another person might be something you could use to justify, in those very rare cases, the death penalty. And that's the thing.
And in a lot of cases, we do end up keeping people sentenced to life in near isolation, in almost torturous conditions where they literally go crazy.
Wait, hold on.
Literally
So this
kill
is
anybody they came in contact with.
Yeah, but they were crazy in the first place,
because
right?
you're arguing that they did stuff so horrible they deserve the death penalty, and you're also arguing that the conditions of prison are horrible too. So you're kind of arguing both sides of it, James. You're sort of saying, hey, they deserve horrible things.
No.
Oh, but the death penalty, they're put into horrible conditions. You can't argue
I'm
both
advocating
sides of it.
torture. I'm not advocating torture. And if you're saying, well, the only way we can keep this person from killing is to keep them in literally torturous conditions that make them go insane, because any human contact they have is a risk of depriving somebody of any human contact for decades on end. I would argue is torturous.
I have to interrupt. Mark, was that your point
No.
ask,
I want
and I'm
to
going
talk
to interrupt to go to your point of whatever your point was.
Yeah, I want to talk about Nathaniel Woods, right? This is the case that I brought up. Nathaniel Woods, he basically, he was executed in 2020. Basically, what had happened, he was in a crack house that the police raided and tried to serve a warrant on him. Another man by the name of Kerry Spencer, came downstairs and opened fire on the officers, killing them as Nathaniel Woods ran from the scene after gunfire. Nathaniel Woods never pulled a trigger, never fired a shot, did not kill anybody in that situation. He was accused of being an accomplice and was convicted of capital murder, even though he did not shoot anybody. They basically said that he lured these officers into the situation using his warrant against him, even though he didn't call the cops, he didn't set anything up, he was just there, and they raided the place. So the guy who shot them, Kerry Spencer, stated that Woods was not involved and said, Nate is absolutely innocent. That man didn't know I was going to shoot anybody, just like I didn't know I was going to shoot anybody that day, period. Right? So the actual guy that pulled the trigger said he didn't know anything. He was just at the house.
Right.
Nathaniel Woods was executed for murder.
So
under the felony
it sounds
murder
like it sounds like the felony murder rule. So if you're a participant in a felony where you have the envisionment that life could be taken, then by the felony murder rule, anybody participating in that felony is guilty of murder. Why they viewed him to be more worthy of death than the guy who is saying he pulled the trigger, I don't know. I would have to look at that case, and maybe that's the case I don't agree with.
Kerry Spencer is still alive. Kerry Spencer is still alive. The guy that pulled the trigger.
I'm not saying every case I agree with it. I'm not saying every single execution that happens I think is justified. I'm not the ultimate.
And I think it's a stupid reason, but this moral justification for that rule is that if that person had declined, they may have been able to have prevented the event, and so they are morally culpable. I think it's bullshit.
Declined what? Yeah. How could he have?
So if I'm like, hey, let's rob a bank, you'll be the driver, and you're like, no, don't, I'm not doing that. I might then not rob the bank because I no longer have a driver. That's the theory.
Can't be executed.
He was just in a house. He was just hanging out in a
bank.
House.
Could be.
How is he culpable for what happens when the owner of the house shoots at cops, when he's just hanging out in the house and runs away as fast as he can when gunfire erupts?
Oh, no, I was just talking about the principle of the accomplice thing. I wasn't talking about that specific case.
Based on my knowledge, that sounds like a violation of Supreme Court precedent, whereas if a person, as soon as they can, disengages himself from the felony, that it's unconstitutional to execute him. That's why I would have to look at this. Well, I believe
maybe.
Well, I put it in the side chat for you.
If as soon as you can, you disengage from the felony and flee, then you shouldn't be culpable to execute.
And so I heard a yes, no, and maybe. I heard a yes, no, and maybe. Write that down, and you can come back to it. We're about to go into open discussion.
Put it in the side
but
chat.
I do want to get Cerberus Hexen. Cerberus, welcome. We are Midnight Ranting on should the death penalty be abolished. Hope you're having a good night or day. And what are your thoughts about the debate or the topic itself?
Oh, I don't think it should be abolished. I think the terms in which we use it probably should be pretty different. I think we should build out a point system for actual criminal acts, to where once you've been convicted of enough points, right, then it's this automatic death penalty. We give up on you. We have better things to put our money into. We need cancer research, AIDS research. If you keep on doing shit to people, you're gone. And then I think anyone that gets more than like a 10-year sentence for something should be given the option for euthanasia.
Oh boy.
Other than that, I'm just kind of.
I'm not opposed to the option of euthanasia if somebody doesn't want to serve their jail term. That's sort of consensual kind of thing. Then they've consented to it. I don't have a problem with that. It's that even under your example of a point system, if there's a particularly heinous crime, sort of like the killing of young children or something, that there's still the possibility that you're going to peg somebody who's innocent for that crime, and that does happen.
Oh, you're right. I forgot to add that there needs to be a minimum. You need to work it out so the points comes down to like 2 or 3 crimes minimum. So maybe they murder a kid or something, and that's like halfway there. That's not all the way there. That way you'll exclude people that are innocent.
In a hurry. I don't know how long the sentence is for that kind of crime, but I doubt they're going to be getting out in a hurry. The method that you're sort of suggesting, you'd only be executing like 80-year-olds and stuff. I don't know how that would work.
Well,
I don't know. Some people
that's
get
the way
like 20 years
they
for
do
a
in
death
California.
penalty. Right? Some people can
You
go
mean
kill
for
someone, get 20
homicide?
years. Yeah.
For homicide?
I mean, it happens.
Yeah, they can go in 16, come out in the 30s, come out and kill another person.
Yeah, recidivism rates are high in the United States.
Yeah, that's actually it's not like laws are not real good deterrents, especially for men.
Well, and I think
The only real way you're cutting down crime with laws is the amount of time people that would recommit are in prison or are cease to be.
Incapacitation.
Yeah.
I think in America, prison should be restorative and what's the word for teaching them to live in society? Yeah, rehabilitative. Thank you so much. I am
That would
high.
be better.
Well, yeah, but we're not
well,
talking the people that wind up with the death penalty are usually it's either the death penalty or life in prison without parole. I mean, this is it. We're talking about that case. We're not talking about people that commit murder and get a 20-year sentence and then could get released. I mean, that's another thing. It's like that leads to a position of anybody who kills anybody winds up being killed, and with otherwise everybody who killed somebody would get life without parole. I mean, it seems to me that
as it is in some states.
Yeah,
Well,
I think we should
for
actually get rid of life sentences. I think those are less humane than the death penalty.
Well, I don't in certain cases. I think Charlie Manson should have been in prison till he died, and he did. And goddamn well, because the guy was a fucking danger. He get him out of society entirely. I think that Rudolf Eichmann should have been in prison until he died, and goddamn well, and he did. There are cases where what you did was fucking heinous. It's like Timothy McVeigh. Put him in fucking prison forever, Put the fucking idiot in Norway. Throw him in stir forever. And if he wants, and I do agree, there was a gentleman during the debate who said, "Well, what if he opts for checking out?" I'm down with that. That's fine. I don't have a problem with that. There are certain cases where these people are so bad that I'm sorry.
This time, I said yikes, but I've been thinking about that, and I actually just flipped my opinion based on your guys' comments, because it is more human. I believe even if you're dying of cancer, you should be able to do it, and some people would be in a lot of mental pain to be incarcerated for the rest of their lives. So I do appreciate the arguments, because I've switched my position.
We're really missing the root issue here. I'm just looking for sort of just mitigatory aspects. I don't know what that has to do with anything. Make our justice system.
Oh, just as he found what he wanted.
Make our justice system.
Make our justice system what?
Bigger, more thick.
Always drink your
make our
sexier justice system
great again.
Yeah, while he's fixing whatever's going on, I want to say that
there isn't anything going on. Did you not hear what I said?
No,
not really. Or at least I didn't understand it.
I don't know what the issue is there.
He said the justice system.
It said make our justice systems restorative. Right. Rehabilitate people instead of throwing them in a cell all day.
I do
like say, that. Hey, we're going to throw you in a cell all day to waste away, or you could just kill yourself. How about we fucking rehabilitate people?
I will say, if I remember correctly,
I would agree.
countries like Germany do have like rehabilitative prison systems for even murderers.
Imagine if during your prison sentence, you're given a job, you're given training, and you earn a wage, and half that wage goes to a savings account for you, and the other half goes to pay your victims for your crime. And 20 years of job training, and you can come out as a productive member of society, and with a little bit of a nest egg, so you're not immediately a burden. And that lots of people that could move so many people from recidivism.
And the funny thing is
Mark. Hang on. I want to say something. Because James brought up exactly this point. He talked about the prisons in Norway, which were like, what do you call them? You called them
college dormitories.
College dormitories, right? So this is the restorative system that is working in those countries. In fact, in the last 10 years, I think that the Netherlands has closed down one of their prisons because they just don't have enough prisoners. So if you're going to bring up those countries, it's odd because they're the ones actually doing really well.
I'm saying that's fine. I'm okay with that. Just not for people who commit mass murder.
Well, people don't want criminals to have these conditions. They don't believe in restorative justice. They're like, no, we've got to punish these people. And that's what I'm pointing out as part of the problem. If your only function of the prison system is going to be vengeance and these punitive measures, you're not going to have the effective systems like Norway and Finland and all of these Scandinavian countries do.
No, I'm okay with moving towards that model. I just not for the worst of the worst, the mass murders, the child torturers, the child rapists and killers.
Agree.
Scandinavian countries actually have harder prisons also. There's just not very many people that go into them.
Well, for people who commit assaults and things like in those more cushy prisons, then they do have more traditional prisons, but hardly anybody's there yet.
I just wanted to say that.
You just wanted to say that what?
We couldn't hear you.
Matt Dillahunty's thing is if you want to end a call, he wants you, to be hung up on. So he waits for you to say something, and he goes, "Well, no, you're done." But sending love to Matt.
Mark mentioned one of the cases. I mentioned a case that probably none of you guys have ever heard of. The guy, he was executed back in 2011 in Florida. His name is Oba Chandler. And he had taken a woman out on his boat in the Tampa Bay, raped her and released her. And about a year later, there were a family from Ohio had come down to tourism in Florida. And he came across these 3 young ladies, a mother and her 2 teenage daughters. And he offered them a boat ride. He wanted to take them out on a boat on Tampa Bay. And he seemed like a nice enough guy. He went out on their boat and he sexually assaulted them. And he killed them. He killed them by binding their hands and tying a cinder block to each of them and throwing them alive into Tampa Bay. And Judge Schaefer, when she was sentencing him to death, she said, 1 victim was first, 2 watched, imagine the fear. 1 victim was second, 1 watched, imagine the horror. And finally, the last victim, who had seen her other 2 family members thrown into the water, was picked up and thrown alive into the water until they drowned to death, which is one of the most torturous, cruel ways that you can die. Now, he never admitted guilt. Evidence against him was overwhelming. They had his fingerprints on papers that the family had in their car directing him to the boat. We had his prior act of raping the woman that he released, very similar circumstances. We have GPS data that puts his boat out on the water at the same time that they said these bodies were thrown into the water. The excuses he gave as to why he was out there for so long did not make sense. They were not true. But you know what? He was a narcissist. He never admitted it. And to his dying day, he said, "You're executing an innocent man," before he was put to death. He was never going to admit to it, but I don't think there's any real
admission's not the issue. It's the question of should the state take his life? And my position is no.
Right. Your position, right. But, well, You mentioned one case before where you don't think it was appropriate. You think there was a miscarriage of justice.
Well, it's not.
I have to interrupt both of you. It's not just me, or is it just me? I actually think it is specifically both of them. Do any of you hear static, or is it just me?
I hear static on James' end. And
Well, I hear static, but I don't know if anybody can hear me because apparently technology doesn't fucking function properly.
I'll mute, and if it's me, I'll.
Yeah, it's cutting in and out. I don't know if static's the right word.
Distortion.
Though we do have. Oh, it's midnight. I was gonna say, who is
Midnight,
Raccoon
yeah.
Sparkle?
Don't you remember
Midday Speckle. So
would you want to? Can you
wanna
wait
comment,
just 1
Leo?
second, Leo, or is it
Sure.
have to be now? Well, he said sure. I'm taking it. Ha ha ha! Raccoon Sparkle.
Hello.
Welcome on board. We're Midnight Ranting.
I'm sorry, James, but what the fuck was that? Was that disturbing tale you just told?
Well, if people
But I
want to
get
give
the point.
cases where they don't think the death penalty is where they think it was applied inappropriately, for every case you can name cases where it was applied appropriately, where there was no miscarriage of justice. The guy clearly did it. He committed an evil, heinous crime and deserves to pay for it with his life.
I get that.
James, he wouldn't
Again,
have
it's like.
Hang on. James, he wouldn't have. Did James? Oh, there you go. He wouldn't have just been released if, we didn't kill him. He'd still be in prison and probably died in prison. It's not the same thing as an innocent man who should have been freed being killed, as that you have a person who would have either spent their life in jail or been killed. It's a complete conflation. It's not a good analogy.
He didn't deserve to spend his life in jail. He deserved to be executed, and he was.
How do you know? Who made you
he
arbiter of what people deserve?
That's the fundamental issue.
I mean, if
really.
you want, if you want all I can give is opinion. I can give my judgment on it.
That's the fundamental. The fundamental issue is. Are we going to put ourselves in the position of somebody?
Static.
Yeah.
Anyway, sorry. Go ahead.
Am I staticky or?
Yes.
Okay.
Just a little.
Maybe try reconnecting because you were okay before.
I
didn't notice.
Unplug and plug your mic back in. Sometimes that works for me. As weird as it is.
Okay,
So-
I do. Well,
No,
who
go
was
ahead.
talking?
Go ahead, Raccoon.
Okay. A little inside joke, but some people, but to me, like Mark is against the death penalty, which I get. But as James described, the crimes this person committed, I should say, were just atrocious. How can you keep someone in jail for life? Like, how can someone like that be redeemed? Wouldn't it be better to just put them out of their misery? I mean,
Well,
that's
but what
we
if
did.
they can?
Okay, well, let
Then
me
why
finish.
wouldn't you want to do that?
Okay, Leo, I guess you're talking now.
He's asking.
Well, no, I was just responding to the
I know, but I
question
wasn't
that
done.
you asked.
I
Okay,
wasn't
well,
done.
I'm sorry for not realizing it was a rhetorical question. I was just responding to it.
I don't know if I can be heard without static at this juncture, but
You're fine now.
Yes.
Yeah, you're fine now.
So I'm just going to ask this question so you guys can mull it around. So, again, comparing crimes, Bernie Madoff was sentenced to 150 years in prison for what he did, depending on how you want to define it. But several of the people that he defrauded were financially ruined to the point that within even today, there's still people killing themselves over having. But immediately following Madoff, several people committed suicide because they were financially destitute and they were in various degrees of financial ruin and depression because there was no
Okay,
restitution
can I-
coming. So I'm curious if we can sentence someone like Madoff to 150 years, which is effectively a life sentence. Where do we start drawing the line between? We're going to start saying part one crimes, physical crimes, murder, and other crimes are the only thing we're going to use for capital punishment. But where do we start going into? So what if it's not degree? What if it's second degree murder? What about multiple counts of second degree murder? Do we start doing the death penalty for that?
Well, I did want to push back on. Look, Leo. Nobody believes in redemption more than I do. Okay, so before you was like, well, how do you know that? Maybe they could be helped. Okay, yes, but how can they be redeemed? How even
You
if they
expect
were.
me to know that?
God damn it, Leo.
He wanted to finish before people could chime in.
Yeah, don't forget he has a stutter. He's like, you gotta give him a minute.
Okay, even if you were to redeem these people in the eyes of society, they would never be redeemed. Right? If they spent like 100 years in jail, being, assuming people lived longer than, you know what I mean, assuming a lot of stuff. Okay, like yeah, they could be redeemed. How? Like, I know you don't know, but that's my question. How? How can anyone be redeemed? I've thought about this thing my entire life. Right? Like, go ahead.
Look,
That
got
just
an
seems like
interesting-
an argument from incredulity. Well, I can't.
I'm
I don't.
literally.
I don't know how. I don't know
what
how.
argument?
I don't know how they could be redeemed. So like, well, neither do I. I'm not a psychologist. I don't deal with this. But the people that do deal with this, and they do know how, and they've been talking about it for decades. The idea that ideas haven't been proposed for how we can make a rehabilitative criminal justice system is bullshit. It's been around for decades. Just isn't implemented because it's doesn't serve it doesn't serve the interests of the power. Yeah, it's not what you said. It's my response to what you said.
Well, I want to know who, if you're not redeeming yourself in the eyes of society, who are you redeeming yourself in the eyes of?
Right.
In the eyes of facts, like if we can demonstrate, if we can demonstrate that you are like the healthy person who can go back into society, then we let you back into society.
That would still be.
And it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what other people think. Other people can think whatever they want. That's fine. There are people that think the Earth is flat. That's cool. You can think that. It doesn't matter.
But that's still society redeeming yourself in the eyes of society, because it's society and the judicial system that's going to judge whether you have redeemed yourself in those factually or not.
I think there might be some
A lot of that's
equivocation
also
in
dependent on
society here.
your culture too.
Maybe, but
If Charlie Manson didn't carve a fucking swastika in his forehead and died in a fair amount of, geez, I guess I really fucked up here, I don't think he'd be a hero to anybody. He'd still be dead. But at least it was, we didn't let him out. We didn't let him go, kill a bunch of people in Hollywood again. And that's good enough for me. I don't know why he had to die.
Well, here's a thought for you. Is it a benefit to keep people in prison so we can study why they do the things that they do instead of killing them?
To some extent, yeah.
I mean, I would say no.
Oh, I think we have enough examples of people who, aren't sentenced to death that we could base
Such
that
a
on.
weird fucking not weird, complicated topic.
Yeah, because I mean, then you're getting into like, are you exploiting people in the sake of experimentation and some other topics there.
Usually they're more than willing to. These narcissists love to talk about themselves and what they did, and a lot of times they're proud of what they did. They love to talk about it.
I don't know.
I mean, go ahead.
It sounds really.
Pat had a. Sorry, Cyborg, go ahead.
I was like, it sounds really dark, but if you're going to go all the way through with throwing someone in prison or putting them in near solitary confinement for the whole life, doing a drug test, a drug trial, it seems like a way smaller thing than that.
This actually reminds me of a story written by Anton Chekhov, right? The bet to where a lawyer and a banker were having an argument as to which was worse, the death penalty or a solitary confinement. Right, I believe the lawyer thought the death penalty was worse, and he actually offered to spend 15 years in solitary confinement to prove his point. Good story. I really love that story. Like, he spent 15 years in solitary confinement.
Story.
What? That's not
just
that.
a story.
Okay, it's just a story, but but the story makes a point.
But to Pat's question, I would say, given the point system, I want a yes. Let's say someone does a second-degree murder and a couple manslaughters, you just get rid of them at that point.
It's just a story.
Well, so
No, I
don't want to weigh this down. But remember that until 2002, Atkins versus Virginia, we actually, the case Atkins was decided because of the issue of people's IQ, that there were many people, and this is many at the time, dozens of cases were cited within the 20-year precedent before Atkins was cited in 2022, where Virginia and other states had executed people that had been deemed mentally incompetent to stand trial, because the charging requirement was pretty low. It wasn't until 2005, by the way, that we decided we can't execute minors in the United States for murder, right? So we're not exactly on the cutting edge of this. So these type of cases need to understand there's a legacy behind it. I'm not, we don't have time to, I would suggest people go home because I don't want to do all the stats. But when you look at the average IQ per state based on demographics of people that are being executed, you're going to see some disparity there too. Whites receive capital sentences at much lower rates than the African Americans do. When we compare the intellectual ability of those two groups at trial to help aid in their own defense, the rate, it's astonishing that it seems that the overwhelming majority of people in certain states, Texas, Louisiana, Missouri, Virginia, but there's several states that fell into this group that were the focus of Atkins at the federal level, where it seems like we're executing people who are unable to aid in their own defense, which the Supreme Court, even in 2002, said that's a violation of our constitution. But we have a legacy of targeting certain demographics and certain people of certain intellectual ability too for capital cases. So if they tell you, this is one thing I want to explain to you. Plea agreements are not necessarily just to save money. They're to elicit a terminus to a case. When someone gives you a plea agreement, they don't get to appeal it 5, 10, 15, 20, and 30 years down the road. So if you're worried about people appealing, the best thing to do is let someone get out of a capital murder charge for a life sentence, which you can do a couple things. You can get additional evidence, find additional victims, have family closure for families. There's a lot of things that can be negotiated on one side of this that other people aren't having access to. If a person who doesn't have the intellectual ability to make that decision to take the plea agreement is executed for a capital crime because they didn't think they did, or they're given bad legal advice, or they're not given a good legal defense. These are issues that we can't fix. And since we can't fix it, or we aren't seeming to want to fix it, I think we really have to look at how often or if we're going to allow the death penalty to be used. That's why I'm against it.
That's why I'm saying.
Tim McVeigh is dead, but Tim McVeigh is a martyr for people.
Yeah.
And I just wonder, whether if Tim McVeigh was sitting in a prison cell somewhere, that maybe it wouldn't be quite the same martyr figure.
He wouldn't be celebrated.
I don't know.
But I was going to say, Pat makes a really good point. Like, I didn't bring that up, but there is something to be said about the fact that people who are, by an IQ scale, intellectually below average, it can be very easy to be misled. And I say that because my dad is one, and I'm dealing with this kind of like some of what I'm dealing with personally involves a man who is likely, like, he's autistic, but he doesn't have a formal diagnosis. He was forced into Vietnam when he legally shouldn't, because he was documented in his records that he was, not there, not average IQ. And it's really sad. Like, and that's not to say, like, that everybody is stupid who might score poorly on an IQ test. Some people just have, a really good specialization in their mind for certain things. My dad was dump trucks.
So
But
for reference, Adkins was rated somewhere between 55 and 65 on an IQ scale. The state of Virginia says if he is 65, then he's fit to stand trial. At the
that's
time,
insane.
but that's what their argument was in 2002.
Yeah.
Virginia fought it all the way.
Can I also read out a list of the countries that still have the death penalty?
Sure.
Going from the top, we have Iran, Egypt, Saudi Arabia, Syria, Somali, Iraq, Yemen, United States, China, Bangladesh, Botswana, Japan, South Sudan. That's not a great list, guys.
I was gonna say Japan's probably the only other good one on
Yes.
there. You know.
Yeah.
Quote unquote
But theirs
good.
is
The
very,
only
very
industrialized
Yeah.
economy, the only modern industrial state on the list.
Well, I mean, I think say China's probably pretty industrialized. Saudi Arabia's
Yeah.
pretty
Yeah,
industrialized.
No, Saudi's not really.
Yeah, they're pretty industrialized.
Yeah, they are. They
They're
are.
I
getting
mean,
there.
they're
China's
poor
funneling
because
lot
they
of
have a
money
royal
into-
family that hoards all the wealth, but
That has a GDP.
like, and that's the thing. A
size
lot of
of-
developing countries are actually developed. It's just that they're extraordinarily poor broadly because wealth is hoarded in really, really, really unjust ways in those countries. It's not necessarily that their technology is like behind. Like, people live in houses, people own cars. They're not like, living in dirt shacks in like the middle of Africa. Not saying that you were saying this, just talking, just generally. now.
I'll revise my statement to say, aside from authoritarian, basically authoritarian regimes, which I suppose you could throw the U.S. into.
Yes, you could.
And
Man, I feel so much worse about being in America now. I'm feeling so much more excited about going to Ireland in less than 30 days.
Nice.
well,
Is it a holiday?
we
or
could
are you
always
moving?
stiffen a call to the State Department and say there's a problem with your visa.
You're a ginger, so you've got that going for you.
It will fit in better. Yeah, that's true.
So I got the guy that was standing trial that had an IQ, 65 is what you said?
Well, the
was
state
he not-
determined 55 to 65.
Why was he just not given like a guardianship to deal with all his legal concerns?
Because he came from an extremely economically disadvantaged place. He was just fit enough to basically take care for he could dress himself. He couldn't read or write. He had kind of dropped out of school. There wasn't a lot of, again, this is 2002. The case was before that, by the way, about a decade earlier. But the issue was, this was someone from an extremely poor family in Virginia who was not able to aid in his own defense. And that's ultimately what the court decided, that, they basically, again, this is the term that's still used by the court, but the MR term is still the term used legally at the Supreme Court. So if you fall into that IQ range, then you can't be executed in the United States anymore. And if you're under the age of 18, you can't be executed either in the United States. I think it's 17, actually. I think is what the court decided on, but don't quote me. But again, in 2005, up to 2005, you could have a 13-year-old.
Because of the Emmett Till thing?
I don't remember the case.
Wasn't he like 16 or 17? Wasn't it something like that when he got?
I think he was 15 when he committed his homicides, or 16. You might be right, but yeah, there was a case decided, and I can't remember off the top of my head. But with Atkins in 2005, Atkins was the standard that was used in 2005. That the Supreme Court made an additional
Emmett
ruling.
Till was 14. Emmett Till was 14. Yeah.
That was in what, the 1930s?
Well, I don't.
55.
No, 2005 is the case. The Supreme Court ruled
Emmett
on.
Till.
No, Emmett Till was 55.
55.
1955. Yeah. So less than 100 years ago, folks. 14-year-old boy lynched.
You're muted if you're trying to talk up there.
Who?
Emmett Till was murdered.
I was going to say that was
this is not this. We're not talking about a death penalty.
Well, he was lynched, so it was sort of payback for
I guess
something.
you could say that, yeah.
Yeah.
I just pulled it up in my
Emmett Till-
Lexus. It was Roper versus Simpson, or Simons. I'll look at it.
Simmons, I
Simmons.
think.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, but this is going to sound bad, but the IQ thing doesn't bother me so much as long as they have proper guardianship and someone of sound mind to make decisions for them. Because prison and the death penalty is more about protecting other people and the cost to other people.
I really need to correct this, Mark. Emmett Till was murdered. He was lynched because he looked crosswise at a white woman.
Yeah.
Simmons,
but I mean, I guess
nothing to do.
I know, but
whatsoever
I didn't mention Emmett Till. Somebody else did.
Yeah, I couldn't remember the case, but
I
it was
didn't bring
Simmons.
up Emmett Till.
Oh, Emmett Till. No, there was
somebody
Simmons,
else did.
Simmons was 17 years old when he was executed for a crime
Was
he
he
committed.
executed?
Okay.
Or was he sentenced?
He was sentenced to death, but he appealed and he won his case. But
just want to be clear, we're talking about a civil rights case, and as opposed to someone who is unjustly or perhaps executed because
right. I think it was just it was a miss.
No, I brought it up because I thought that his death might have had something to do with the age restriction on the death penalty. I wasn't sure about that.
It was a conflation. It was
just...
Simmons, 17 years old. He won his case.
Okay.
How can you even look at sentencing a 17-year-old to death? How is that even something that would cross your court? That's insane. I'm really sorry, but that's insane.
Virginia is a weighing state, so how they view it is that would be a mitigating factor that the court would consider, and then the court would weigh it against the aggravating factors, and if the aggravating factors outweigh the mitigating factors, then the sentence could be death. Virginia is a weighing state.
I was told Virginia was for lovers.
Well,
yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I think
death penalty apparently.
I think if you're too stupid to smoke, drink, or shoot a gun, you're too stupid to get convicted to go to prison for any amount of time or death penalty.
I mean,
if you're too stupid to smoke, drink,
too young,
yeah. If society on one end goes, you're so not very responsible for yourself, we're not going to let you do anything.
Yeah. Now that I remember, I refreshed my memory.
Over there?
Yeah, but since I refreshed my memory, Simmons and a couple of his buddies pre-planned a burglary and sexual assault that once they were in the act, they decided they didn't want to get caught, so they took the victim to a bridge, bound her, and threw her off it and drowned her to death. So because of the way she was premeditated, it was in the state, I can't remember which state it is, it was enough to warrant being charged with capital crime, death penalty.
I'm really sorry. I just can't see a 17-year-old.
I'm just saying why it met the standard.
No, I got you, mate. I got you. Yeah, it's a little hard.
Each state had a different standard. I think before Simmons, Florida was 16. But that was the state Supreme Court decision.
Night, Matt Tesoro.
Well, again,
good night, Matt.
It's that. Good night, Matt.
Not Matt.
Tesoro.
Yeah.
So since this is the internet,
again, it's okay, fine. That's a heinous crime. If the person gets convicted of the heinous crime, at least if he's convicted to life in prison, whether he's 17 or not, we can, at least that individual has the opportunity to say, hey, it was 17 and stupid.
So
now they do.
Once that person is dead, there's no going back. It is kind of the end of the road, at least for that person.
It is.
Yeah, so
I don't know if we can really say somebody at that age is absolutely irredeemable. So I can understand why I think most people would have serious reservations about that. So I understand that.
So since this is the internet, I want to ask Mark a question. That's a very internet question. What if at the end of World War II, Hitler didn't kill himself? He was 15 and we captured him.
At the end of World War II?
Yeah.
I thought you were going to ask, do you like cats?
So he's been
which
ruled.
is also a valid
No. The better question
I'm
is, do
pretty
you
sure
like
at 15, at 15, Hitler was kind of painting and, being an ass.
I know.
Hypothetical.
I know, but it's
This is-
hypothetical. Like if history
This
was
is
different.
a weird hypothetical.
Well, yeah,
I
but
still think life imprisonment is probably the better option.
okay,
Yes.
that's what I was trying to get at. Would you
think
would
the
you stick to
Nuremberg
your
trials were
guns at
miscarriage
the
of
extreme?
justice?
Yeah, look, I sort of said to James that at some point, if the benefit of society outweighs the well-being of the individual, then yeah, you could make a case for killing those people. But I just don't see a situation where the benefit of society is good enough to justify that, because you're talking about a collateral cost of innocent people. You're talking about that's expensive. You're talking about the moral repugnancy of passing off to an executioner the responsibility of killing somebody, especially if they're innocent. Like, can you imagine how much that would screw you up? You pull the trigger or inject the fluid or or pull the trigger,
Good night,
drop
Pat.
the whatever thing you're doing.
Good night, Pat.
And then you find out later they're innocent. Like, can you imagine how much that would screw you up? And this
that's
is
why
a
they,
trivial thing.
I think that's why they
know that-
always have one person with a dummy round, so nobody really knows who actually killed the person in the firing squad.
And I will say, ladies, gents,
Still
and everything in
screws them up.
between, we got 10 more minutes
Still probably
until
worth
we go into
absolutely.
outros.
And Leo is gone.
Send it
Bye,
along
Leo.
to Leo.
It still messes you up, James. You can't just have a job
It
of
could,
killing
yeah, it
people
definitely could.
and just expect that to be that's your job. And
I'm not saying we
it's
force
gonna have an
anybody to
impact
do
on
it.
Well, Mark,
way back in the Stone Age, I posted a link to a song called Ellis Unit 1.
way back in the Stone Age, what?
Well, back in the stream, I posted a link
I
to
don't
Ellis
see
Unit
the
1.
link.
Oh, you said way back in the Stone Age. I was like,
Well,
what?
can you sum it up for me? I didn't see it. I'm sorry, Steph. Can you sum it up for me?
It's a Steve Earle tune called Ellis Unit 1, and it's about an executioner in Alabama or Texas or someplace about the executioner's job. And Ellis Unit 1 was was death row, and it's an incredibly moving song. If you don't know Steve Earle, you should be familiar with Steve Earle, because Steve Earle's very good.
So, do you think just getting messed up by the executioner? Do you think that's alleviated by something like a firing squad, where you have like
No,
30
'cause-
people and only a handful of people have bullets, so no one knows?
No, I think that
That's
goes
the
through your
theory
mind that it
behind
could have
it.
been you. That is the theory behind it, but we stopped that because people they know that one of them killed them, and it quite likely was them. That's how your mind works. You have a tendency to fill in the blanks.
I just
aim part of ready, aim, fire. It's like you're aiming at something.
Well, I just thought of something. What if what if the executioner or the person that pulls the that pulls the lever, it's somebody that's well known. It's only that's well known. That and this is gonna be fucked up to say, but there's no chance that this person will have guilt because they're a psychopath and they enjoy killing and doing that is the only way they could. You get the point. I don't know. I think
I'm
That's
gonna
like using one prisoner to kill another. I'm wondering when like prisoner death matches are next kind of thing.
I'm pretty sure that's on
mean-
HBO, but that's a whole nother
I
story.
mean
Well,
that's. Go ahead.
I mean, if you're gonna let prisoners like make their own income, right? Why can't you have a prison MMA
Oh, they've done it in
or
the past.
something?
Oh my God.
Yeah.
I'm just saying. I mean, clearly violent criminals know how to fight. They're already there.
That's so dystopian. I don't know.
Yeah.
Well, I mean,
It
it's just an
really
option.
is. There's a part of me where it's like, if this was a story, I'd probably watch the anime, but I don't know if I want this for IRL.
I don't know.
Right.
I think it could be good for them, right? I'm not saying death matches.
Have you guys ever seen the movie The Gamer, or not The Gamer, just Gamer, right? Where it was in the future, and kids, you could actually take control of prisoners and force them to have death matches. Like, it's such a weird movie.
Let's not do that though.
No, I know. Let's not.
Yeah.
But let's say we did.
I'm just thinking, get all the prisoners together, teach them jujitsu, and let them meditate and roll around on the mat with each other, and then go punch each other out a little bit and put them back in their cell.
Yeah, I think that's morally that's right up there with bum fights kind of thing. Quite frankly, you're sort of taking advantage of people in a certain situation that they don't have a way out of. They don't.
No, it'd be voluntary. It'd be like a job.
Yeah, no, but bum fights are voluntary as well. That's the whole point,
yeah.
right? That they're voluntary as well. It doesn't make them right. It's preying on people in a certain circumstance that they have no way out of. So if you're in prison and going, oh, well, my life's fucked, I could make some money or whatever for my family, it's taking advantage of people in a situation.
But isn't that the same thing then if you're having them make license plates?
Sure. But at least they're doing something sort of, at least they can learn a skill and things like that. What are they going to do if they get out of prison and all they've been doing is fighting in prison?
They join a fighting league. It's a skill that you can make money with.
Yeah, no, I can see all the 40-year-olds and 50-year-olds getting out of prison just using their skills to be a professional fighter.
That's true.
Rather than committing more crime, I can totally see that service.
I was just gonna say this big man could probably make
teach
a
him how to
storyline
shoot
out of
too.
something like that. I'm just saying.
I just want to say, hopefully,
that
someone
72-year-old
becomes
is a
Scott Lang.
challenge to the establishment. That 52-year-old is in his prime. He's in his prime and about to throw down hands.
But Scott's not a murderer. He's a thief.
Have an archery club too, and stealth practice.
Yeah, no, I'm sure that archery is the way to go. Like tons of felons come straight out from prison and straight into the Olympics. Archery range,
maybe gymnastics
all the way.
Or,
well, why not drawing
ballroom dancing?
All
Yeah,
I'm
why
gonna
not?
say is,
Why not?
I
Yeah,
feel like some of
absolutely.
that is also because of systemically, like, a lot of prisoners when they come out of prison are also very poor and without a lot of means, and so a lot of these things are expensive.
Yeah, quite. Yeah, and so the idea is to get them into jobs that are going to help them when they come out of prison. The low-level ones, they do marketing, they do call center work, they do stuff like that, which can be very beneficial as far as skills are concerned. License plate making, at least they've got some kind of industrial machining foundation in order to go out and find work. It's not coincidence that they do this, and whether it's right or not is a totally other conversation. Whether it encourages people to keep these criminals in the prison system in order to make money off them, that's an entirely different conversation, which I don't agree with either. But at least I can see some benefit to it somewhere.
Yeah, I think actually having
a marketable skill, that's something that they could use on the outside.
Sure.
Yeah, my only, I was gonna say my only, question of like, is it enough is because there are a lot of careers where if you have a felony on your record or other things that they won't allow you to work. Yeah, they won't allow you to work in these jobs, and that's a real concern too, because it's making sure that somebody is going to be able to make enough money to survive on the outside, and also like is going to, I feel like a job that they really enjoy is going to help, because I know what it's like to work a job and feel dead on the inside. Can you only imagine adding all of the complications and layers of having served time in prison and how having to deal with society's always going to be second guessing you? It's a lot.
Take from Leo's page, the number of jobs is going to be shrinking going forward, especially the good jobs, and
manufacturing's not like what it is.
Felon versus not, they're going to be at a permanent disadvantage for one of the few good jobs that are remaining.
That's you have a great point.
I really recommend Gordon Behind Bars. It was when Gordon Ramsay went into an English prison in Brixton to teach them how to cook.
It was a good show.
That was a great
It was
show.
a good show, but what he ran into was the prison establishment really trying to stop him from doing what he was doing. Like they sort of said, "Oh, people won't buy the stuff that they make; they're criminals." And of course, people on the street were like, "No, this is fantastic. You know, encourage them, let them do these things," and they were very encouraging. So, but the system itself was almost geared to stopping them from being reintegrated into society, and it was kind of depressing. You know,
I mean,
it was
they
kind
benefit.
of this.
Of course they are. They benefit from it. Why would they ever want to stop that, Mark?
Well, yeah, I know, and that's the problem with look, this is an entirely different conversation. The problem with privatizing prisons and having them run as a business kind of thing is that is a conversation that has to be had, right? But it just shows that these good thing Leo's not. But this rehabilitation can work, and it does work, and it's shown to work in places in Europe and things like that. It's just it's kind of heartbreaking that and that's another reason why I oppose the death penalty. It is just a punitive revenge or just a punishment for people, and there's no real outcome that benefits these societies from it. I just don't see the benefit to society at all.
Mark, go ahead.
Well, no, I will say, if there is any questions left for the panel, get it out when everyone has gotten their questions out. We are moving to outros.
Yeah, I just want to say, Mark, you're a bleeding heart just like me.
Oh well, I'll wear it. You know, I wear my heart on my sleeve. I'm very. There's a few subjects that I'm very staunchly have a position on, and that's one of them is death penalty. Another is gun control legislation. Things like human trafficking and stuff like that, I have strong opinions of. I have strong opinions on trans and LGBTQI rights. I have very strong opinions on this. I don't see why I should go, well, I'm not going to rock the boat by not expressing my opinions. I'm going to express my opinions and rant about them, and you're all going to listen, and you're all going to accept them.
This is the perfect place for it.
Absolutely.
And you're all going to burn in hell. Repent of Paris, sir.
You're on your way to hell, sir. By the way, can I get a dick pic, sir?
I mean, do you really want one?
Oh my!
Absolutely, sir.
Oh my God!
Put that link in the private chat.
Yeah.
Only if you call me daddy. You have to call me daddy.
Wasn't he a former gay? He was formerly gay.
Former gay, sir. That's right.
Wait, you charge for the D. You don't give it away for free.
No, that's what we're talking about.
Is going to hell. I'm not gay anymore, sir.
Yeah, okay, sure you're not, James.
I'm not gay, sir.
Own it, girlfriend.
Oh my gosh.
You know what I want to see on this subject? I don't know how it would be done. I'd have to look into it. But some sort of like no, about the prison thing. Not even really about the point system.
I don't know.
Some sort of
death matches. Oh.
No.
The point system.
Well, the point system. But I'm talking about just in general for different things dealing with the justice system. I want to know.
It always sounds like China with their point system for citizens, kind of thing. You know, like. I mean, I know that's a slippery slope argument, but social credit score kind of thing.
I just consider it a way of ensuring you're not killing someone innocent, but also you're lowering the cost and the danger for the other people that didn't commit crimes. That's all it is. But I would like to see a study where they would look at like the opportunity costs and stuff. Like, is it possible that for every violent person you don't send to the death penalty, you statistically cause 2 other people to die? Like, I want to know that.
Wouldn't it be
I don't know
nice
how
get...
you would do that.
Well,
no, you go, Steph. I've been talking.
Wouldn't it be nice to get government?
That's right, Mark.
Wouldn't it be nice to get government out of the death business?
Well, you can't. Everything the government.
Wouldn't it be nice if copyrighted?
Wouldn't it be nice if I wasn't albino? Had to throw it out there.
But yes, James Wolfe, I will
You're proud of
say
yourself.
we would be up for a gun control
What?
debate. We have 2 debates in the docket. We have
That'd be a good debate
both
for
Ultimated and Peebo
Oh,
about to
fuck.
debate presuppositional apologetics, and Mark Reid and Zellini
Peebo
about
must
to
hate
debate.
themselves, like, seriously.
He does. He does.
I
Wait.
know he knows. That's why I think he hates himself. Like,
Sorry,
why
what did you say?
do that?
I said a bunch of things.
Well, no, I mean, when I said, wouldn't it be nice if I wasn't out buying them? And then,
I said love yourself. Learn to
oh, well,
love yourself. damn
okay,
it.
fine, fair enough.
Albinism isn't changing anytime soon.
Let's
You gotta get over it.
Yeah, I don't think we can legislate against that one, mate.
Gizmo approves of
But I wanted to say something about the government and the death business. It's impossible, especially on a large scale, because basically any rule the government's going to put out, it's going to cause someone to die. There's too many people doing too many different variety of things.
That's a
You're
valid
gonna
point.
you're gonna knock someone off the edge.
Yeah, I don't think a littering law is going to cause anybody to die anytime soon. At least not directly.
I mean, someone could slip on a banana peel and break their neck. Oh no!
Well, yeah,
And it could
No.
also be the atheist nightmare holding a banana.
But-
On
but-
that note,
Uh,
but it's not. It's just good
You'll
potassium.
get to
Eat
that, Chris.
bananas
Don't worry
today,
about it.
ladies and gents. We are actually going. Everyone's
Gizmo's
going.
calling it quit. Calling us.
Exactly. He's looking for the good catnip tonight. That's what he's trying to find. And everyone will get to say whatever they want, however, because we are moving into our midnight ranting
Oh, do it to us.
outros on should the death penalty be abolished, and our bodies are ready. Da 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 da, and
There she is.
head over to Sparkle, the raccoon.
Albino raccoon.
Okay, well, as I said this before, I do believe I've always been a firm believer in redemption. Right, like I grew up with many stories to where characters in stories did like really bad things, but the other characters eventually accepted them and try to try to show them to show them what they can be redeemed. Now some of those characters went back to their old ways, and some of them worked very hard to find redemption. I mean, I'm pretty sure every one of us has seen Dragon Ball Z here, or Dragon Ball, right?
I have good time.
I have.
Okay, so
I haven't.
you know how many characters have done unspeakable shit in the series, yet somehow were redeemed and became main characters.
Yeah, I was gonna say Vegeta's definitely one.
Yeah, there you go. Perfect example. The man destroyed planets under Frieza, yet you know what? He's redeemed now, right? He's got a
Listen,
family, a
Midnight, we
son.
like character arcs, okay?
Yes.
He's got a hot, sexy, like smart wife.
Yeah, well, yeah, definitely. Bulma is definitely hot and sexy. But the point is, I believe in redemption, but I also recognize that there are times where redemption may not be possible. And keyword may. Okay, I don't like I don't know. I don't know if I don't know if there's there's a magic pill or a magic wand. Magic wand that you can wave and and change somebody's minds to redeem them, right? Because a lot of the issues stem from prisoners. Just stem from prisoners, not accepting what they've done, not taking responsibility, and not taking steps to improve themselves and change, right? Their minds are already made up. It's how they see the world, and that's the way it is, right? uh I don't know. I don't have the answers. Obviously, I'm just a cute little panda. Sorry, raccoon.
Aw.
What the fuck,
Raccoon.
raccoon?
It's a furry. It's a furry.
An albino red panda.
Oh. Amaretto loves her furries.
I mean, just look at that raccoon. Just look at it. So cute.
Thank you so very
Go
much,
ahead, Panda.
Midnight. And it reminds me once again of the Avatar Korra, where there's a little friggin' thing on there.
Vegeta has all the powers of a demigod. He's above the law.
Thank you so very much. And we are heading to Cerberus. We
Oh,
have
no.
been Midnight Ranting. Oh, yes. On Should the Death Penalty Be Abolished? Lovely
Sexy
having you
Avatar.
on. And what are your thoughts on anything we talked about tonight?
But yeah, I think there's something that no one really ever considers in these conversations, and that is after someone has done so many things in a row that you know that they're going to do more. They're that type of person. Any sort of extended prison sentence is immoral because the money you're spending on feeding, clothing, housing that person could be spent preventing the death of someone else. So you're actually causing people to die, not killing that person at that point. But aside from that, I am happy that Midnight agrees with my UFC redemption idea.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes,
Okay.
totally
That's it.
for it. I'll even pay for it. I'll become rich and sponsor it.
Oh no.
Midnight McMahon.
Midnight
I was saying.
McMahon.
Oh my God.
God damn, that's great.
Thank you so very much, Cerberus. Lovely having you on. And we have technically 2 headliners tonight, but I promised I would still go in the outro order of joining. And so, Mark Reid, we have been here because Oz and Jenna set up a lovely debate on UDC that everyone should go check out right on here. And you just had a debate with James W. on this topic on should the death penalty be abolished. I do want to, however, ask where can people find you and what are your final thoughts?
Well, you put the website down so you can find me at that link. Yeah, I do debates. I have fun, and that was a good debate. It was really back and forth, and I see the reason why people want to punish and have vengeance against the people that have wronged them. But I think that's sort of not to be harsh, a pretty primitive way of thinking. Sort of this punish them just because they hurt me kind of thing. It's not going to benefit society in any way, and I think I did go over my case pretty well. This doesn't benefit society in any way. Like, it just doesn't. There's no reason for it. And as
What about
try as you
Conforcism?
might, even with thanks, mate. Even with your sort of idea of let's have a really, really tight overview of the death penalty to make sure that innocent people aren't being killed. That's what they thought they had. That every time they think they have this system that's absolutely foolproof. The problem is that as a special report from the Death Penalty Information Center said, that most cases of people being incorrectly condemned to death aren't actually mistakes. They're more false reports and prosecutorial misconduct than just accidentally happening. This isn't happening in a vacuum. And as Amaretto pointed out, a lot of this has to do with the way that they see people. They see certain people in a certain light. Now, even if there's one person, that is one too many to be executed incorrectly. That is too many. So the least evil thing we can do is just lock people up until they're no longer, if they're no longer a threat to society. The costs associated are roughly the same, and it's better for us morally because we're not sort of getting somebody like a prison officer to execute people for a living and putting all of the thing on us. And I agree with James. I wouldn't execute people for a living. Imagine that job. It would be a nightmare. It would be the worst job in the history of humankind, which quite often it was. Like, executioners generally is a bad job. I just don't think that is morally right. And when you're talking about morals, when I'm talking about morals, it's the well-being of individuals and society. The doing the death penalty doesn't increase the well-being of the person. It doesn't even increase the well-being of the families who want this. I mean, there are families that don't, and I don't think that killing someone else is going to bring your loved ones back. I have sympathy, and I really feel for these people that have been victims of crime, but killing someone else isn't going to fix it. It isn't going to make them any better off, and sort of it doesn't do anything for society. It does nothing for society. So it really is just, you're going to take vengeance for vengeance sake. It's not good enough in today's society just to act like, well, we're going to take vengeance for things that have been done. We should be better than that. And the whole idea that, but that's what the people want. Well, we don't think that way about sort of racial rights or trans rights or gay rights or any other rights we have. We don't think that way. Well, the majority wins. That isn't what we're trying to do. So and that's sort of my entire argument, aside from the fact that some of these people die in horrendous pain. I want to thank you all for listening to me, and I will certainly do this debate again if I can, because I feel strongly about it. There's a number of countries all around the world, and just keep this in mind, countries all around the world, a lot of them don't have the death penalty. Crime isn't out of control. Murder isn't out of control. It's not like you'll get rid of the death penalty and suddenly things are out of control and just chaos everywhere. It's not the case. It's not going to turn into that, and I don't know why people think it will. Thank you.
Thank you so very much, Mark. An honor having you on as always. I thought you and James did great in the debate, and
yeah, fantastic.
I'm looking forward to you being in future debates, both on UDC and on Debate Me Bra.
Yeah, I'm keen.
Woohoo! And all right.
Thanks so much, Mark, and congratulations
Thanks,
on your
James.
victory.
Oh, thank you. And well done to you as well. You did a really challenging opponent for me.
And all right, we are going to Stephanie. Stephanie, we are Midnight Ranting on should the death penalty be abolished. What you got going on the interwebs, and what are your final thoughts?
Well, I've got my little itty bitty channel, but aside from that, as far as I don't have a hell of a lot to add to what Mark just said. I just don't think vengeance is a sufficient reason. Might make you feel good for a minute or two, but I'm not sure I don't think that society should be in the business of executing people. I don't think that works, and I don't think it's beneficial in the long run. It's not a deterrent. I mean, getting thrown into the slammer for the rest of your life, I think it's a far more substantial punishment to the offender to be thrown into the slammer for the rest of your life. And if we're talking about the most egregious people, the people that deserve death from many people's standpoints, you're just, you can say they deserve death, but you can't give them life back. You can't, and you can't, if there's a mistake, you preclude the possibility of discovering the mistake. So it just seems like it's not the greatest thing. People will say, okay, well, this guy's clearly guilty, and it turns out he's not. This one is clearly guilty, and it turns out they're not. And well, in that circumstance, do you ever get to take it back? No, you don't. It's done. What's done is done. And and then you're saddled with the. Does anybody give it a second thought? Does anybody think maybe, well, we made a mistake here, and what do you do in that circumstance? Sorry. Is that all? Is that the best you can do? And people's desire for vengeance can get hot. People's fear, people's people's wanting to take it out. Is somebody when you kill somebody, do they, like I said, is Tim McVeigh a martyr? Some would say, yeah. I don't know where society benefits in the long run by taking upon itself to kill people. That's dumb. And I don't think it's business of, as someone who doesn't particularly care for war, I don't know as it should be the government's business to kill people. And apparently, a fair number of people think it is the government's business to kill people and to make those and to make those judgments. It may be the government's business to stop stuff, but I can't. I can't hold with it. I can't hold with the death penalty when there are alternatives, like locking somebody up and throwing away the key.
Woo-hoo. Thank you so very much, Stephanie. It was lovely having you on as always. Thank you also being there for Bree in the getting her to 1,000, because she is almost up there. I really should be sending her channel out there. I also have, this is your channel, right?
Yeah, that's me.
Woohoo! There we go.
And
it's on screen.
Tim, in the chat, on the grounds of humane killing a sick person, that's fucking terrifying to me. That's fucking eugenics. That's terrifying.
But we're going to send love to Steph's channel. We're about to go to Amaretto, and then our second headliner of the night, we are going to go to James, and then I'm just going to tuck us into bed. But I do want to give another shout out for Bree, because she is almost at 1,000. So we're going to keep on.
Science.
That's right, baby. Go to youtube.com @HiveSci so she can collect bugs. And
She should have been there a long time ago.
Exactly. Get rid of your arachnophobia. I like spiders. I can't help it. I'm weird. No, I guess Bree understands.
I guess she does too.
Exact. Face your. And all right, with that,
Trigger
we're
map
going. Trigger map. Oh my God. We were watching that video, and all I could just think, it's like, oh boy, that just must be a really swell guy. He must, tie his grandma's shoes and help her across the street. And then he, tries to push for the genocide.
Guy wearing women's
homosexuals
clothes,
in the
kill
street.
him. Yeah.
Exactly. Do. What? But that's the same guy that was at the bake sale? Yes, it was. Anyway, the exact
basically, if the person handing you the cookie is wearing the wrong clothes, yeah, you know what to do.
I would say, to be honest with you, Matt's in the closet. He's escaping his, his non-sugar daddy from Ark Adventureland, who I may be debating soon. It's like debating someone from like between the 70s and the 90s, maybe even the 60s. And I don't mean like from them. I mean like their PowerPoint presentations are from exactly then, as if they have accepted no new data. And they're almost like a kind of an opposite Captain America. They came back into the future and they're like, I'm still a terrible human being. Anyway, let's go to another truly opposite person.
The social justice.
Yes. Well, only half. I'm going to keep on prefacing that because I imagine that Matt Powell has been in drag many a time and is just not out yet.
Well, maybe right now.
But we're just going to we're going to do it the exact opposite person. Welcome a social justice topic That's right,
Who is
social
that?
justice rogue. Welcome, Amaretta. It was great to have you back. We have been Midnight Ranting on should the death penalty be abolished. What do you got going on in the world, and what are your final thoughts?
And who is this with you here?
Exactly.
This is Lenore. This is baby. Okay, hold on. Come on, baby. Look, people want to see you. Look, how cute are you? Okay, yeah, she's
Yeah.
all right. She's
Extremely
like, no,
cute.
Baby Lenore.
yeah.
What's her name?
Her name's Lenore.
Lenore. Oh.
Yeah, so I adopted her from a friend who, unfortunately, life stuff, death in the family, couldn't take her, so I took her, because that's what I do. But
Very
yeah,
the Raven. Like I just remember the poem "The Raven" by Edgar Allan Poe. You know,
oh my gosh,
No.
it's been so long since I've read it.
my sweet Lenore.
Yes,
Oh, never mind.
okay. No, I was gonna say, my friend named her after this YouTube series, Lenore, the creepy little dead girl, or something like that. Of course, like, you know, we're edgy, right? I named my son after a video game character. What do you expect? I'll take a cat that's named after a webtoon. It's all good. I call her Lenny sometimes. I just didn't have the heart to change it. She's a good girl. But anyways, yeah, thanks for having me on, y'all. Yeah. So, you know, throughout the conversation today, it's like, you know, a couple of people were bringing up some really good points for sure. You know, and maybe in some scenario, there might be a place where I would be like, yep, we should, that person, without a shadow of a doubt, nix it. Execution. Oh gosh, Lord, don't sit on the space bar. But I think objectively, like, we are nowhere near, especially in the United States, because that's my frame of reference, being anywhere near close enough to where I think that would be a reality. You know, I think like what somebody was saying, like, you know, we're probably never going to get to a point where, you know, that happens. You know, so my entire focus right now is making sure, you know, as far as this topic goes, making sure that we're not killing innocent people. In the United States, you know, I believe it's the Innocence Project is what it's called, are finding miscarriages of justice every single day. You know, and it might not be super often, these things take time, but, you know, I'm not 100% sure if I feel comfortable with the death penalty, knowing that the United States government has wrongfully killed people. And then just, you know, there was the point made up of the gentleman who got the death penalty just for being in the crack house or whatever. And I didn't know about that. And that's entirely shocking in a sense, but it's not shocking because I didn't know it exists. And that's the sad part. I should be shocked at hearing like this stuff exists, but I know I don't. Like, you know, it's I know it happens. And I feel like as a society, we should be working more towards restorative justice, like what's practiced in countries such as Germany. You know, I believe it's just insane that Japan and the United States are on that list with all of these other places that just I feel like it's not trending in a good direction. And, you know, without any question like this, especially when we're like comparing and contrasting to different countries, you know, we want to be careful that we're not letting like an ethnocentric bias, you know, placing our cultural morals and values over another. But I still feel objectively, like as a human being, that we should be better. A lot of people in the United States like to say we're the greatest country in the world. We haven't been acting like that at all. The irony of the Make America Great Again, you know, slogan. We are never fucking great. We're trying to be great, and then we have people that are trying to drag us and keep us back with these repressive policies. And, you know, I thoroughly encourage everybody, you know, to get involved with this topic, with other issues related to social justice. If you feel passionate about it, that, you know, abortion rights as well.
you know, because we need people to stand up and speak up. And, you know, in some ways, you could be the person, you speaking up, you can contribute to helping make lives better for everybody, not just yourselves. And I think that's a great thing. So be good to one another. Tell somebody that you love them, because you never know what tomorrow is going to hold. And try and be the best people that you can be.
Woohoo! Thank you so very much,
Thanks, Amaretto.
Amaretto. Lovely having you back on. And
Oh yeah, here he is. That's
the
right.
second
He's
headliner,
still
it
up
was
today.
lovely to have you on, Gizmo, but also James W. We have been Midnight Ranting on should the death penalty be abolished. Had fun at UDC with the debate with Mark Reid. But what I really want to ask you is, what are your final thoughts?
Thanks everybody for watching the debate. If you watched the debate, it was really good. Subscribe to that channel. For people who came to the after show, it was great to have you all. People on the panel, it's great to hear your opinions. Congratulations, Mark, for his win in that debate. He is a very good debater, and yeah. So I just want to respond a little bit. Well, first of all,
So
I'll
you
just
are both master debaters.
Oh,
I do want to point
I like to think so. First, I'll just restate my basic case is that that we've been hearing all the arguments presented tonight. We've been hearing them for decades from very well-meaning, very educated people. They've been telling us all these objections to it, yet people have heard these objections, and yet support for the death penalty remains strong. Now, you got that. Why is that? Are people immoral? Do they just not understand the type of arguments that are being made? Are we just not capable of making these decisions, and we need them to just kind of make these decisions for us to help us along the way? Do we need cooler heads to prevail, and do we need them to be the adults in the room? And yes, okay, you guys, you want your vengeance, but we're not going to do that. Go away, children. Let the adults make the decisions. And I think that's not in the spirit of democracy. I think when you're determining the values of society, that they should be consistent with what the people in the society believe. And we're not talking about mob rule. We're not talking about lynchings or executions in the street. We're talking about a system where courts make these reasoned determinations that are reviewed, and where there are safeguards in place. And no, it's never going to be perfect. No human system is ever going to be perfect. But if we accept that standard, that's pretty much what people have echoed tonight. Well, since we'll never be perfect, we should just shelve the entire idea because we're just never going to be perfect. And that is an opinion that people have been presenting for decades. That's one that the media has been echoing. It's one that we've been hearing from academia. And again, as with these other arguments made by these well-meaning people, the majority of people just don't agree with it. And this is after we've been in a state where these values, their position has been forcibly imposed on it. They have done that. They have said, we don't really care what you think. We're just going to abolish it anyway, which, okay, affects eventually people will catch up to that, because it does sound kind of shocking. The idea of most people have never been in a lot of these countries have never been alive when there's been someone executed. So the idea of doing it just sounds it sounds bizarre. It sounds shocking. Like, we just don't do that anymore because we just don't do that anymore. Why would you ever want to go back to that? Because we just don't do that anymore. Well, yet still, even still, after all this time, 30, 40, 50 years since these countries have had a death penalty, we still find a large percentage of the people, plurality or even majority support for the death penalty in certain circumstances. You talk about people we can never be really sure. Well, what about somebody like Dennis Rader in Kansas, who called himself Bind, Torture, and Kill because he liked to bind, torture, and kill his victims? He killed 10 people. He confessed to this in open court. He laid out step by step how he killed these people. No question that he did it. All the evidence points to him. He confessed to it. He did it. Now, because they didn't have a death penalty while he was doing this, he is sitting in prison, and he will sit there for the rest of his life. He was sentenced to 175 years to life, and so he's never going to live long enough to go to parole. But yeah, he did it. There's no question about it. He enjoyed it. He did it because he likes it. He's way too dangerous to ever consider releasing. Even when they caught him, he was planning further crimes, further victims that he wanted to kill because he got sexual enjoyment out of it. And to say that we as a society, we would be somehow diminished or besmirched if we were to kill this man instead of letting him sit in a prison cell for the rest of his life and, feeding him and taking care of him and giving him his medical care and, dental care and all the things that these inmates get is, you can hold that opinion if you want. You can say that, well, no matter what, we just can never take life, no matter what, because we just shouldn't be in that business. Well, that's your opinion. But again, it's not the opinion the majority of people have. And then you talk about countries like Japan, another industrialized nation, where death penalty support in Japan is at 80%. Is there something wrong with the Japanese people? Do they just not? Are they not capable of understanding the complexity of these issues? Do they need somebody to come in and impose somebody else's values on them, or are they competent to make their own decisions? Can we respect them to run their country the way that they want to run it? And yeah, they do that. They're happy with it, and you can object to it. But is it right to? At what point do you have the right to impose your value system on others? It's a question of what type of government do you want to live in? Do you want to live under an authoritarian government where we trust the government to make these decisions and we just click our heels and salute the government? And your primary purpose in life is to follow government regulations, to be obedient to government, to be subservient to government? Or do we want a system like democracy, democratic republics, where the government exists to serve the will of the people, to do what the people want them to do? And it's supposed to be where if the people don't like what you're doing, they can vote you out. But most people are not single issue voters, so they've gotten away with just imposing their will in a lot of these countries against the will of the people. In many cases, they bribe them with social welfare programs, and people vote primarily based on their wallet, based on their economic interests. So this is not like most people are not bloodthirsty, lusting in the streets for death. So they've kind of just gotten away with it. And I guess that's a flaw of democracy. It is what it is. No system's perfect. Democracy is not. It's definitely better than authoritarianism or totalitarianism. It's the best that we could do. But anyway, this is just my opinion on this issue. If you disagree with me, don't hold it against Amy Newman. She is these are my opinions, not hers. So don't hold that against her. But I want to thank everybody for your opinions. I respect them. You guys are great. I just disagree. And yeah, thanks so much, guys. Have a great night.
Woo-hoo! Thank you so very much, James. It was lovely having this entire after show and discussion on the topic. I feel like we had a lot of good back and forth. We hold it all against Amy. That's right. You should. Right. I'm holding it right here.
Thank you, Nathan. Thank you, Pseudonym. The people who were sympathetic to my position. I realize most of the atheist community holds a different position, but I just ask that. Thanks, James Wolfe.
A $5 super chat also came in. Thank you so much. Love and support from Pseudonym. James
Thanks
may
so much,
have
Pseudonym.
won. Some people will not change from being, repetitive pedos or murderers, and tax dollars pay when innocent homeless people die for no crime. Want to answer that, James? It seems like
innocent homeless people. Is he talking about people who might be innocent who get the death penalty due to socioeconomic considerations that Well, I mean, I'm not going to say that's not an issue, and I mean, well, actually, they. If you guys follow, Mark mentioned the Furman decision. That was where the Supreme Court they held the death penalty cruel and unusual punishment based on the fact that it was arbitrary and capricious. There was no standards. The court would just set a punishment without any factors to go on. Actually, I believe it was North Carolina. They tried to remedy that by just making a mandatory death penalty for all first-degree murder. So therefore, they're not arbitrary, not capricious, no bias whatsoever. You commit first-degree murder, you're put to death. Then the Supreme Court came in and said, actually, no, that's unconstitutional too. You can't do that. We have to have this subjective system where the court has to consider these different factors and render a decision. Yeah, it's experiment by it's legislation by experiment what the courts are going to accept. I mean, most of these cases all are public defender cases because the amount of people who can afford to be able to take a death penalty case to trial is very slim. All these cases are almost public defender cases. And you can take a guy like Nicholas Cruz. He killed 18 people. He ended up with a life sentence. Public defenders. Yeah, it is what it is. Do I agree? Do I agree with that case? No. Is there anything I can do to change that? No. Although they might change the law in relation to the sentencing in the state. The governor's proposed that, and we'll see. But I understand that there are these concerns, but I think they can be remedied, and I don't think they make the entire concept of the death penalty absolutely immoral. I think we can work on that, try to minimize that bias, try to make sure that we are sentencing people to death who deserve to be sentenced to death. Yeah. Anyway, thanks, guys.
And all right, thank you so very much, Pseudonym, for that super chat, and of course, James W. for that response. And with that, I do want to thank you all for coming on this episode of Midnight Ranting. Oh, I almost forgot.
Oh yeah.
I have
we are
packing. Not only do I want to thank you for coming on,
packing, Amy?
I definitely am.
Packing.
Gavin and Iron are both working down here trying to make sure that I'm
working
still
overtime tonight.
Working overtime. I do want to send love out to all of our super chatters, all of our channel members and Patreons. You gain access to our Talk Skeptic to Me show that we will produce. Gizmo, myself, and James will produce for you. That will help you share your expertise and experience with the community. However, if you have your own podcast that you would like to launch, promote, or help monetize, oh my, kinky. Head down there to my Fiverr, Gizmos and Eyes, and we will help you produce your show. And so sending so much love to everyone out there.
Portion of the proceeds go to catnip for Gizmo.
Yes,
cat
very
treats,
fancy catnip and cat treats.
Oh, he has very high standards.
Exactly, very, very high standards.
Where is he? Oh, no, he's still here. He's still awake. He is just chilling. He is hanging out. He's chilling tonight. He took his nap before, so he is ready to go now. Right, Gizmo?
He's ready to be on camera and look fabulous.
Gizmo, your fans are here. They want to see you. Yes.
I'm going to keep on putting up as much as I can because this cat
as possible.
This podcast is sponsored by cats. If the cats were sponsored by podcasts, that would also be interesting. But yes, we hope that you all had an amazing, awesome, amazing. Did you even know that? Why would you have a woman do that when it's a man's job?
Well, that's why Amy's got two men down there working hard at it.
Working hard, as they should be. They're pantsless apologetics. It should be their own podcast. I hope you all had a good time on this episode of Midnight Ranting. Should the death penalty be abolished? Where we tonight had a UDC-inspired after party on the debate on our own James W. and Mark Reid stepping in to the ring on said topic. Should the death penalty be abolished? For a good time, worth dying over. Though I do want to thank copyrighted song. My co-host James W. and Gizmo, as well as our guest. Ding. I almost said I had a completely different list there for a second and it included some theists. Hold on one that were definitely not on the panel. Though they're about to be soon. Sending love to Ultimated and Peebo, who are going to be, as well as Mark and Zellini. But yes, I do want to thank my co-host James W. as well as Beamsy, Oz, especially Oz for being the daddy of the debate tonight, as well as the queen of production, Jenna, Amaretto, Stephanie, Matasoro, Mark, our double headliner tonight, Leo Felius, Pat, Cerberus. Also check out Pat coming back on this channel soon. Cerberus, Sparkle, woohoo! As well as all the people in chat, the mods who make this stream so great, and of course, viewers like you who make this channel even possible. If you know someone who thinks that they'll enjoy this channel or the show itself, a friend, a family member, or someone you're in a debate with, feel free to share that button right below, as well as like, follow on Twitch, 6 away from 100.
Do it all.
Woo-hoo-hoo. And then
that's right, Chris.
subscribe
It's
on
over.
YouTube.
We are getting out of here.
It's awesome. Oh my god, but that's okay because the fun's just beginning. You just wait for the after show on the Skeptic and Ranting. That's right, the after show where all the cool people are, and I assume that's where all the good what TOS? I don't even know what you're talking about. It's original Coke Zero. Anyway, yes, as well as you can subscribe on YouTube, which gives you access to that bell icon, which when set to all will send you reminders to join our live streams or see our premieres, or hey, why not leave a comment once the video's done? Hey, our gender or sexuality is going to be figured out soon. Or why not leave a super thanks, and we'll leave thanks on the next episode. You can also join us at the after party. That's right, the very, very best on the girl deck. The link of which to our after party, the Skeptic and Ranting Discord server, is in the description below, along with all of Mexico.
That's true.
That's true. Very, very spicy.
There's a taco shop that sells it. Oh, so good.
As well as all of our Patreons and all of our channel members in the description below, along with all of the amazing people who gave us super chats, the best way to help us make even more content and somehow get even a higher girl deck with the props and dinosaurs and the robots taking over is by heading over to our Patreon at patreon.com/Amy Newman. I am Amy Newman, and we will see you all on the next Skeptic Ball Z. Good night.
Send me a message on Discord, Chris, if you want to. Send me a message on Discord.
Yes, and if anyone would like, send lots of messages to Matt Powell on Grindr.